Welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Have everybody doing big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And sometimes, whenever I feel like it, I may be going live with a very, very, very special guest tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. But so hit that subscribe, ring the bell anyway, so you never miss an Indian Jesus live party again. Let's also say thank you to mysickshirt.com. Whatever your persuasion, they've got something for you. And of course, it is the only place to get your very own, the Indian Jesus official merch. Only at mysickshirt.com. All right. Oh, there we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Marty in the building. What is good? Welcome, welcome, welcome to Melted Mind Media. What is going on? We got Daniel Cabrera in the building. Because I'm not sure there is a correct God. Referencing our poll, replay gang, let me know what you think in the comments. Can you be a moral person believing in the wrong God? Can you be a moral person believing in the wrong God? Daniel says, because I'm not sure there is a correct God, I have to say yes, though. I think many people who are religious try to be moral. I think so, too. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
We'll have a problem.
Whoa. All right. So I've got an interesting show for you guys. We're going to do a little bit of reacception. All right, so we have our boy Rationality Rules, as well as Forrest from the Atheist Experience. And these are two people that I very much respect. These are two people who helped me along the way in when I was not really sure what was going on in my brain. And this notion of dogma and skepticism and all that kind of stuff is these are the type of people that showed me how to think this way. However, it seems that despite how logical you may be, despite how rational you may be in one area or in many areas, you are always, let's just say, in trouble of being caught up in dogma. So what they are doing is reacting to some podcast talking mainly about, trans stuff and all that. And they're going to be giving their points. But I'm going to be pointing out where their dogma is driving what they're saying and is causing them to do mental gymnastics. And these are the guys who will pick out every little thing about the Bible that doesn't make sense and this, that, and the other. And I love it. But we got to call it like we see it. Shout out to Nick. Welcome to the party, brother. As always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
Why, hello, my fellow apes. I hope you are well. The forever happy biologist and science communicator, Forrest Valkai, has recently joined me for an episode of the Rational Roundtable podcast, which will be available for all within a week or so. But while we were at it, we thought we'd take a look at some recent things that Richard Dawkins has expressed about trans people.
So remember, Richard Dawkins is who last Monday we did Peter Boghossian and Richard Dawkins. He was the older dude. There's a reason.
And so what you're about to see is me and Forrest watching and then reacting to 3 separate clips from Richard Dawkins discussing this topic.
Actually, never mind. Go ahead.
First clip is from Richard Dawkins' podcast, The Poetry of Reality. The episode is titled Trans When Ideology Meets Reality. And what you're about to see is Richard expressing his thoughts, or at least some of them, on the transgender movement.
It is a very odd phenomenon because I'm used to continua wherever I look. I mean,
yeah, Daniel, I was actually in prep for tomorrow's amazing show that you should definitely be here for at 1 p.m. Eastern with Peter Boghossian. I was watching his podcast with Douglas Murray, and smart dude.
There's tall versus short, fat versus thin, old versus young. All these things are a smooth continuum. The one thing that isn't is sex. I mean, sex really is binary. There's no question about it.
And again, we've gone over the idea of bimodal, where there might be two overlapping. There might be a place where the two categories overlap, but that doesn't mean that there's not two distinct categories.
Either male or female, and it's absolutely clear. You can do it on gamete size, you can do it on chromosomes. And so it is, to me, as a biologist, distinctly weird that people can simply declare, I am a woman,
I declare bankruptcy. No, but now in the same way that I just teed this up as being very respectful of Rationality Rules or Stephen and Forrest here, they definitely 1000% feel even more so that way about Richard Dawkins, because he is like, not the godfather of new atheism, but if there was one, it would be Richard Dawkins.
Though I have a penis. That seems to me to be a strange distortion of language, because language is useful as something to express your thoughts clearly.
Forrest, my dude, what do you make of what was said there?
So before they go, does anybody even know what there is to be upset about, to disagree with what Dawkins just said? Like what? That was common knowledge, just not even anything near controversial for the last million years. But what has changed?
It strikes me as odd for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's explaining the reality of biology. There are continua everywhere.
Right.
There's really there's nothing that you can put into a solid box. Everything is fuzzy. Everything is gray.
Except sex.
And he's like, except for this one thing though. This one thing is it has to be this way. And he's backing that up using the categories that we created. And that I'm sorry, that's just not good enough. And then he continues by saying,
so before he goes on, the categories that we created. Well, yes, he's talking about men and women because we created those to identify what is actually there. But because they see that, no, everything's on a spectrum, it must be on a spectrum. So you're saying that it was on a spectrum at just this one thing? So are we saying that there's not exceptions? Is it unreasonable to say that everywhere else there is a thing, but not always there's an exception, and here it is? Because that's so far all that he said. Shout out to Xander Crew. Welcome to the party. Said, what has changed is that our society is being purposefully destroyed using language by people who hate America.
Bingo.
Exactly. The semantic obfuscation. It says, why get so upset about a simple fact? Well, let's see.
saying language is really important.
Come on. Oh, come on.
Using the categories that we created.
We didn't create them. We just identified them.
And that I'm sorry, that's just not good enough. And then he continues by saying language is really important for expressing yourself clearly. Yes, I agree.
I said, shit, me too. Shout out to Christian Picard. Welcome to the party. Said, I never understand that comment. Who else is supposed to create it? That's a good point. Were there only beings on the planet who can come up with the terminology for biological truths? Same as physics. Exactly. We didn't make up that there are two genders. We've just identified the words. There always was male and female in every animal. Well, maybe not every animal, but let's at least say in mammals and primates. There is always two different biological sexes. And they know this. These are atheists. These are people who sit around all day, wait for Christians to call in and say, what do you believe and why? And then shut them down. And masterfully so at times. But where's that energy? Keep that same energy. Welcome to the party, Christian.
That's why this nuance here is so important, because it's very difficult to express yourself clearly when you only have these two very narrow parochial boxes to work with.
No, it's pretty clear if you do only actually have those two boxes and you call this one box A and you call this one box B, it's pretty, it's definitely not parochial to label them. But you seem to be stuck on, things in humanity are on a spectrum, so that must mean everything in humanity is on a spectrum, when that's obviously not the case. Xander said they're using the satanic tactic of nothing being true and nothing having meaning, making it possible for anyone to shift definitions at will. You get it.
You don't get the kind of diversity and the nuance and the interesting nature.
Oh, no, we don't get diversity unless we use your language. We don't get what are we going to do without diversity, guys?
Of language out of that. So, he's literally describing how biology works and how language works
Yup.
and how important they are,
Yup.
and then refusing to use that same framework for this one thing. And that's
So again, there's no such thing as exceptions. That is your point here, Forrest. This thing is true here, so it must be true everywhere. I mean, come on, bro. You're supposed to be the skeptic, the logic, the rationality, all of this. Christian says, I agree with Xander. That's why I always like the expression, the devil's in the details. Ooh, good point. Good point.
it's so weird.
It's not weird. It's only weird if you think that a man can transform himself into a female, which is crazy and weird.
It is weird. I mean, one of
Is it though?
the criticisms I have here is that if you're going to perform what's known as an inner critique, so if you're going to criticize someone's view, you have to do it from their perspective. And yeah, what
Okay.
concerns me, or I don't really understand what Richard's doing here, is that I see no effort from Richard to do this. So, like, if someone dismisses the entire transgender movement based on what a fringe of them think about sex, and yes, there are some people that have those views, it's obvious to me that you can't be taking the view seriously. It would be equivalent to just saying, look.
So wait. If we're talking about the fringe, then what you're saying here is that it's a fringe belief that trans women are women and that you don't believe that. Because that's what he's responding to. So if that's the fringe idea, then okay, we agree. But I don't think that's a fringe idea.
Christianity shouldn't be taken seriously at all.
Nope.
Because, and then just emphasizing and focusing on entirely young earth creationists. It's just...
That is a false analogy. That is a false analogy. Young earth creationists are absolutely a fringe of the larger Christian population. But people who believe that trans women are not the fringe of the LGBT or just in general, the left. That's a false analogy. And let me remind you that Rationality Rules, Stephen here, has made a game called Debunked. It's a tabletop card game that is specifically about how to use logical fallacies. And you just did it. Why? Because you're dogmatic in thinking that he must be wrong because he's saying something different than you. Nothing that either of you has said is rational or follows any kind of logic. It's pure emotion.
Even if it is the case that the fringe views got it wrong, like, you've got to deal with the main frame, and he doesn't seem to have any.
Okay, so what is the mainframe then? What is the mainframe idea if it is not that trans women are women?
Inclination, or there's just nothing there where he's dealing with gender as a separated concept. He's just like,
Right.
But if you're going to...
No. See, but we've already addressed the fact that gender, will give you that gender and sex are different, that gender is the label of your sex and you can change the label for anything. Great, fine. That doesn't change the fact that there's still only two genders. There's still only two biological sexes, excuse me. He's just not using the exact terminology. And so you're jumping down and assuming that he's not even separating that. What he's talking about is biology. Just like through all of human history, man and male were essentially synonyms. It's now you, with your dogmatic idea that they are different, that is coming in and clouding your judgment.
critique someone's view, you've got to take their position and show where their position has problems, not impose your view on it.
Okay, so then tell us where he's wrong and what is the correct position.
He is criticizing the fact that we're talking about gender, and also
Nope, not criticizing the fact that you're talking about gender. We're criticizing the manner in which you are talking about gender.
he is exclusively talking about sex. And like,
Yes. He is exclusively talking about sex. And if you watch that conversation, then there is no confusion about that. So are we are we quote mining now? Is this what we have to do because we don't have logical points? This is what happens. This is, and again, you guys know I'm a raging atheist. But you cannot be dogmatic. The whole reason I left religion is because of accepting beliefs without being able to question them. And here they are, accepting the belief that trans women are women, or saying that trans women are not women, but that's a fringe belief, and that there's another belief about transgender that's not that is whatever it is, it's coming from dogma. And the fact that I'm confused about what they actually think is not my fault. It's your videos, gentlemen.
Like the difference between those two things, again, I can't stress this enough. It's not a new development. It's been around for over half a century.
Yeah, so makes sense that, you know, in shorthand, when people who agree that there are two sexes and there are two genders, whether you agree or disagree with that it is shorthand and it does make sense and it is internally logical to say there's two genders because you believe that being outside of the binary doesn't exist. What is the issue? What did he say that was wrong?
In fact, almost at this point, because we're in the 2020s now, almost a whole century, almost 100 years of understanding that there's a difference here.
Oh, Christianity's been around for 2,000 years, Forrest. Don't you know this, man? I mean, come on. 2,000 years. They never would go down this line of thinking in a religious conversation. Never. It would never happen because they know better. But yet, when you have these dogmatic beliefs, it takes over your reason. Sanders says the left is a religion. Yep. A group cult that punishes those who question what the corporations have ruled social law. Yep. And I mean, it would be one thing. It would be one thing if, like, they were on stage doing something and somebody randomly asked them about this while they're in front of a huge liberal crowd. All right, I could see where, pandering a little bit might be the better move. I wouldn't respect it, but I might understand it. But y'all chose to make this video. Why? Nick says, good job calling out their BS. They're giving atheists a bad name. Exactly. That is why I'm doing this. That is why I'm doing this, Nick. Because we're not all the same. The only thing that every atheist has in common is that we do not have a God belief. That is the only thing that you can tag on me because you know something else about an atheist. There is nothing else. I mean, there might be, but not because we're atheists. Shout out to Indyville. Welcome to the party with a great point. It says we created day and night. It's actually on a spectrum. That's a great point. We created day and night. There is no time at which it turns from day to night. But we can clearly understand that there is a difference between the day and the night. What's the issue? Well, but
And he's just using the language he grew up using, the language he's gotten away with using this whole time.
Oh, gotten away with it. He got away with talking about gender as if there's two. As a biologist. Horrible.
It sucks so bad to see someone that, I grew up looking up to so much and has been such a hero of mine for such a long time for tearing apart dogma and for encouraging critical thinking and critical theory, poking at your own ideas and poking at your own thoughts and making sure they stand up. And then he's just here, just flatly refusing to even try to do that.
Oof. Holy moly. Holy moly. Guacamole. If that wasn't the biggest projection I've ever seen, I don't know what is. Who's the one relying on dogma here? Who is the one saying, oh, well, we knew 100 years ago that there was a binary or there wasn't a binary? This is crazy. This is crazy. And I am right next to you, along with many other atheists, when we watch this. So just in case you thought atheism is a religion, or just in case you thought atheism means you think this, that, or the other, I am here to be your living proof that that is not the case. Shout out to Unwanted Foe. Welcome to the party. So is he the one doing that? Really? Exactly. Projection.
Like that blows, man.
Yeah, it's like, on the one hand, it could be that Richard is criticizing the transgender movement without knowing really anything about it, not knowing the kind of views that they hold, and knowing that if you're going to criticize this view, you're going to have to recognize the nuance in the views that are there. And
what nuance? We understand that people want to have a gender identity that is different than their sexual biological sex. Do you think Richard Dawkins doesn't understand that? Do you think all of us who are not in favor of this type of ideology don't understand that? You're just so much smarter than us, right?
And, maybe address like the more broader views where they actually separate sex and gender.
Such as, well, you haven't even said you said you have to take it from from their perspective, but you haven't said what their perspective is.
Rather than doing whatever this is. But
just talking.
On the other hand, he might know what he's doing, but instead is just focusing on the nuts, if you want to put that way. And I just, it just seems so.
That was good.
This just seems so bizarre. Like, I don't know. Like,
it is bizarre. The fact that you find this bizarre, that a biologist, a 70, 80, 90-year-old biologist is talking about men and women, that you find that bizarre is absurd. It is absurd.
Like when it comes to philosophy, Richard's never been particularly good. Maybe this is just what he's like when he's outside of what he's good at. I don't know.
What is
more projection? Maybe, gentlemen, maybe you should stick to the Bible. Maybe you should stay out of politics. Maybe you think you have this arrogant know-it-all thing when it comes to your wheelhouse. Maybe it's you who is doing exactly what you are saying Richard Dawkins is doing.
Seems like to me, as a professional content creator, it sounds like somebody who is on their own podcast speaking to the
yeah, they're just talking to, telling everybody what they want to hear because, if you have that opinion, it can't possibly be your own opinion. You must be just doing it for other people because, if all these people have this opinion, then they must have all gotten it from somebody else and none of them could think it themselves. Wait, then nobody would think it, would they? Unwanted said, what's bizarre is forcing the fetishes of a very small minority onto the majority. Yup.
Their own base, who they already knows agrees with them. And so he doesn't have to put in the hard work of making a really compelling argument or putting in a lot of thought. He's just reaffirming the people who are already listening to him.
You could say that about any episode from the last 17 years of the Atheist Experience. That, you're just doing this, that, and that. But you're just talking to the people who are watching because they know they agree with you. That's such a cop-out. That is straight up coke. Shout out to Kluke. Welcome to the party. Said, totally off topic and unrelated, but holy effing S. I just watched some dude win 40K on Kick. Very, very nice. Hey, StreamYard, if you can get your ish together, that might be me. And I will very shortly be on Kick, but they're working on it in the back end. But welcome to the party, brother.
By saying it in such a simplistic way that he thinks about it in his own way. It's like that.
Yeah, it's so simplistic to think about male and female as just like two things. Like you must just be doing a thing. You must be grifting. You must be doing some kind of pandering to think that.
That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like somebody who's very comfortable in their space talking about another space through their own language of being an influencer, of being a celebrity.
I mean, do I have to say it? Let's drink every time they project. Projection.
That's what it sounds like to me.
One of the other things he said in that just made me raise an eyebrow is that he started talking about having a penis. And I'm like...
Yeah, like, what's the relevance when we're talking about male and female? Like, penis? Why are we even talking about penis? Is that even relevant here? Why does he care what's in people's pants? What a weirdo. Oh my God, we don't even need to listen to him because all he cares about is talking about what's in people's pants. Really? That's what we would call in your game that you created an emotion or an appeal to emotion.
But he's mentioned before that sex is going to come down to the way that he sees it, gamete type and chromosomes.
Yup.
Why is he saying a penis? That seems to only achieve appealing to people's intuitions
because most people can't see a chromosome. Most people don't know what a gamete is. You moron. Why? What do you mean, why? Well, I cannot fathom that you're missing the gap that, okay, he's not talking about, and it's not that he doesn't talk about gametes and chromosomes. They picked the specific thing where he was talking about a penis. It's relevant to the conversation. It's the exact same thing as Lance from the Surfs when he was on the Culture War. Be like, why do you care about Jazz Jennings? What's in her pants? Why do you care? That's so weird. Oh my God. Shout out to Zippy the Strange. Welcome to the party. Said projection is rejection of reality. Denial in full bloom. Yes, sir. Welcome. Unwanted Foe said he thinks about it in his own way. While that dude thinks about it exactly like the progressives. Cringe listening to fluffy hair. Yeah. So he says, religion talks about what's in people's pants all the time. So pedantic, they miss the plot. Yeah, I mean, what? Like, but we have to remember, these are not Christians. These are atheists. These are atheists saying that their way of thinking is right, and this way of thinking, where there's two biological sexes, is wrong. Like, what? Nick says the guy at Athletics for Liberty, athletics or atheists, because you did that last time, is with us. Not woke, more on the right, and just about logical, reasonable side of things. I think you would agree with him. Well, hey, give me a shout out, and maybe he will want to come chat.
It's not like if you got a eunuch in front of him, Richard's going to go, "Ooh, I don't know who that is. I don't know if that's a man or a..."
Of course he wouldn't, because he's not stupid. Like, you really think you have read every book that this man has read or has written? He wrote a book about genes, and you think he wouldn't know what to do with a eunuch? Come on. I mean, come on, bro. That's some weak shit.
Woman.
Yeah.
Now it's tricky. So, like,
It's not, though.
reference to a penis, it's like...
It's like a way to, like, explain a thing that you have really complicated to people who don't want it to be complicated, because it's not complicated.
It's at best rhetoric, and at worst, it's just appealing to people's intuitions.
Honestly, for me, like, I've pointed this out before. You notice whenever we talk about, trans people as an issue, and whenever we debate trans rights, it all
get ready for some type of snobbery, smugness. Just whenever we talk about this, people are so simplistic, or people are so wrong, or people are so this. I don't know. And I didn't watch this. Well, actually, I watched it last week, but I haven't watched it since then.
almost inevitably, like 90% of the time, 90+% of the time, we are only talking about trans women. Always. Yep. And for me, I see that just because this is the opportunity for mixing homophobia and sexism into the diarrhea martini called transphobia. And like,
wow. Well, maybe before you make that argument, you should look at, number one, the rates of trans women versus trans men and their ages. And number two, then you should think about the actual reality of what we're talking about. If you're a woman and then you just, tie your boobs down and whatever, nothing's really going to happen. But if you are a biological man and now you are trying to invade women's spaces, that's a very different concept. That is why we talk about trans women a lot more than we talk about trans men. But we still talk about trans men all the time. This is just more cope. It's just more cope.
That's what I see here. Is it's much easier to build a straw man with, it's just a man in a dress.
Yeah, it is easier to do that, what you're doing right now, isn't it? Any film said, just to be clear, I'm not afraid of trans folk, except that one, it's ma'am person. Yeah, scary dude.
Then if you actually have to grapple with, actually there's more diversity than that. It's not just some guy trying to be a girl. It's actually, gender presentation, and there's trans men too, and they all.
Okay, but biologically, are they men or are they women? Or is there another option? Okay, there's no other option. So you're now the one that's not separating gender and sex. He was talking about sex, and you're mapping what he said about sex onto gender. Why? Not because you're listening, not because you care, but because you want to dunk on, this guy that I've been following and I've been riding. I bet if we go through either of their channels, there's loads and loads and loads of stuff that's been directly, not lifted. I don't mean it like in a plagiaristic type of way, but straight from the work of Richard Dawkins. And so now, just like the video that I dropped this week about we're the bad guy, maybe we're the bad guys, it sounds like this is an attempt that as all this house of cards that is wokeness starts to fall and crumble, people are going to be like, well, I was never into that. I was never into that. And it seems like this is just more of that.
Also have their own issues, and there's this crazy thing called intersectionality that's a bit more interesting than just crosswalks and road signs. It's actually this whole diverse field of thought.
There's the smugness. I knew it was coming.
About like how these different things align, and like that. I think the way to just picking on trans women like that is a way to avoid.
Talk about straw man. You just said the word straw man. Who? Watch the clip again. He did not even mention trans women or men. Picking on trans women like that. What are you talking about?
Any kind of deeper thought. And
you know what? I see what's happening. I didn't notice it at first, but I see what's happening. They saw the clip, they got triggered, and now they're just spiraling on their own. They're thinking about whatever else is going on and just rapping about that. You're not reacting to the clip. You just used a clip of somebody saying something about trans that you don't like. And then separately, you're talking about things that people are talking about trans and you don't like that. The two are not connected. You have not created a bridge between the clip we just watched and the points that you are making right now. I'd be willing to have that conversation. Well, there is there's definitely different ways that we talk about trans women than we talk about trans men. I'm willing to have that conversation because I think that there's reasons for that. But that's not what happened in that clip. So what are you doing? So let's end this poll here with 100%. Well, I don't think we've ever gotten 100%. 100% of you said yes. Believing you can be a moral person believing in the wrong God. So, all right, we're going to lead into the next poll. So if you believe in the wrong God, will you get into the preferred afterlife? All right, let's see. All right, diving back into these. What did I miss here? Yup. Any film said transitioning gender presentation is cosplay. Changed my mind. By the way, any adult can't dress any way they want. You can dress any way they want. You just can't force people to pretend with you. Yep. Well said. Daniel says, did you know there's a It's Ma'am? The It's Ma'am person has a musical career. Oh, wow. Somebody find me a link for that and drop that in the Discord. Nick says, that's stranger than you, Zippy. Something is wrong when we start looking normal. I mean, you said it, not me.
Just appeal to hate.
I broadly agree. I really do. I think that's correct. But
yeah, listen to this again. Like,
how these different...
Like, so we have this smug idea of like, oh, well, we're just going to make it so simple. There's two categories, but making it two categories is wrong. And there's intersectionality and there's a whole diverse field about how to think about these things. And then something that's not relevant to the clip that they showed.
Different things align like that. I think the way to just picking on trans women like that is
like, should we go back and watch the clip? Yeah, let's do that. Why not? Where are we at? 7:47. So let's see where he's picking on trans women like that. Let's see.
Where I look, I mean, there's tall versus short, fat versus thin, old versus young. All these things are a smooth continuum. The one thing that isn't is sex. I mean, sex really is binary. There's no question about it. You're either male or female, and it's absolutely clear. You can do it on gamete size. You can do it on chromosomes. And so it is, to me, as a biologist, distinctly weird that people can simply declare, I am a woman, though I have a penis.
Is that it? That's the picking on trans women? He's just using one of the two options. He could have just said, I'm a woman, despite the fact that I have a penis, or he could have said, I'm a man, despite the fact that I don't have a penis. That's your big gotcha? That's your big gotcha. I mean, pathetic. 7:47.
Way to just picking on trans women like that is a way to...
Lie detector determined that was a lie. So yes, our new poll. We got a lot of non-believers. So if you believe in the wrong God, will you get into your preferred afterlife? So if you're if you are a Christian and you believe in a heaven, then do you believe that if like Muhammad and Islam is the actually correct one, that you will get into that version of heaven for believing in Yahweh, or vice versa? Shout out to Splits fucking up the poll every single time. Every single time. This is maybe the 7th time I've seen you do this, but welcome, alive and well.
Avoid any kind of deeper thought and just appeal to hate.
I
Right, well, I mean, that's a useless poll now. Thank you very much.
broadly agree. I really do. I think that that's correct. But another factor that comes to my mind, because it is an interesting phenomenon where it's like, why is it always trans women that are being, emphasized on?
It's not.
And I think that part of it is that every protected category we have is basically for women, as in like female. And because
Yes, we have protected classes for women because they're different than men. And we talk about trans women because they are the ones that are invading these spaces. What is the confusion?
it's seen as a threat that men can fit that category or invade that category, that's why they focus on the female and the women's league.
Okay, so if you understand that, then what's the question? Well, I don't understand what you're confused about or what you disagree with.
Etc. The women's category. But I do think you're right in what you were saying there.
It's hard because, like, as someone who is staunchly feminist myself, I see the attempt to try to boil women down to their organs or their chromosomes or their ability to reproduce.
Yeah, and who's doing that? Who's doing that? Who's coming up with things like chest feeding and menstruators and bonus hole? Is that people on this side of the argument or your side of the argument? So again, what are you talking about? Shout out to Unwanted Foe for the puppy break. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Where's he at? Morty, come here. Morty, come on. Let's go. Come. Come on here. Morty, you can't be jumping up here. And then, come on. Morty, come. He's embarrassing me. A lot. Morty, come here. Look. Yes, it's food. Come get it. All right. Well, I promise I gave it to him. Thank you so much. This dog. I don't understand. Maybe one day, I'll earn my own super chats. But for now, I promise he is getting what he is promised. Thank you.
As grossly anti-feminist. It's like calling a woman just a thing that gives birth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so stop doing that.
Like that's all it is. Like, no, it's that is what's setting people back in terms of feminism, is saying, no, if you're a woman, you have to do XYZ thing.
Yeah, I agree. But that's you. You're the one that's saying if you play with or if you play with a truck that you have to be a boy. That's you. And I'm being a little bit facetious there. But that's not us. I'm flabbergasted at how intelligent these guys are. But yet, like, trust me, try to debate them on anything philosophical outside of this. They will kick your ass. They will kick my ass. Rhetorically. But just as they understand can be the case, as they accused Dawkins of doing, that maybe just when you're outside of your wheelhouse, that Dunning-Kruger effect comes into play. Oh, so sad. So sad. Any film says, what? Oh, hey, staunchly feminist guy. What is a woman? He ain't gonna know. Yup. He said he's a feminist, and he's not lying. He's not being facetious. He really think that that's a normal, cool thing to say. Unwanted Foe said, "What is a woman's only space anymore? When guys can just walk in and pretend they're not a man." That's what we're trying to prevent, but I guess they don't care. Zippy says, feminism tells women to do XYZ, though. Exactly. The hypocrisy comes from the dogma. When you start with your conclusion and you work backwards, you look stupid. The same way all the people who call in with their religious beliefs to your show every week, and they start with the conclusion that God exists and that what I believe is correct, and then they try to work backwards, and it doesn't work, you're doing exactly the same thing. The same exact thing.
Rather than women are diverse, women are interesting, women have a lot of different ways of being women, and women are all fucking awesome. Like, that should be the answer. That should be the way to
Yeah.
To what? What are you? So now you're just virtue signaling about how cool with women you are? That's not even part of the conversation. Like, maybe I missed something. Maybe I missed something.
Just picking on trans women like that is a way to avoid any kind of deeper thought and just appeal to hate.
I broadly
Appeal
agree.
to hate. Appeal to hate. I think, did somebody say that? Yeah. I mean, come on.
I really do. I think that that's correct. But another factor that comes to my mind, because it is an interesting phenomenon where it's like, why is it always trans women that are being, emphasized
Women's
on?
spaces.
And I think that part of it is that every protected category we have is basically for women, as in like female. Right. And because it's seen as a threat that men can fit that category or invade that category, that's why they focus on the female and the women's league, etc., the women's category.
Again, they get it. So what are we arguing about? We all agree that's the case then. Unless you don't agree that women deserve their own spaces. Unless you don't agree that women should be a protected class. In which case, I'm willing to have that conversation too. But I don't think it's going to make you look good, especially to your super liberal feminist audience.
But I do think you're right in what you were saying there.
It's hard because, like, as someone who is staunchly feminist myself, I see the attempt to try to boil women down to their organs or their chromosomes or their ability to reproduce as grossly anti-feminist. It's like calling a woman just a thing that gives birth. You know what I mean?
So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And maybe he's criticizing from within his own position that while, in his mind, he's saying, while we shouldn't be, picking on trans women like that, it is a bad thing to reduce women. Maybe that's what he's saying. I'm willing to give some ground here because I'm trying to be fair. I always am. Don't tell that to, one of the 3 people who got mad at me for, just doing exactly what I do that they signed up for. But that's a whole other story. Indie Film said the left 10 years ago, children can play with whatever toy they want. It doesn't mean anything. The left today. Look, Billy's playing with a Barbie. Quick, cut off his dick. Why? Dogma. So maybe, just maybe, when you see that these people are doing the complete inverse of what you Christians do with your God, then you can understand. I'm not asking you to give up your beliefs, but at least you can understand where I'm coming from. That they think that it's so obvious that it's transphobic to say that there's 2 genders. Maybe things like not believing in God aren't that much of a big a deal. Just maybe. Unwanted Fellow said, maybe there's a really hot feminist in his life that he's simping for. I do believe he's married, but no. These people literally think this way. Progressivism is highly dogmatic. Yeah, I mean, this is what I tell you guys every day. Nobody's pretending here. Nobody's pretending. This is what they think. They think this because they think this. That's the long and short of it. They think this because they think this.
I mean, like, that's all it is. Like, no, it's that is what's setting people back in terms of feminism, is saying, no, if you're a woman, you have to do XYZ thing, rather than women are diverse, women are interesting, women have a lot of different ways of being women, and women are all fucking awesome. Like,
I agree. Even the ones who like to play with boys' toys, even the ones who don't like to ever put on a skirt, they don't have to be men. Because you know what? Women don't make very good men in the same way that men don't make very good women. So maybe you should stop with the rhetoric and the propaganda and the dogma, and everybody will be a little bit happier off.
That should be the answer. That should be the way.
Yeah, the whole movement with feminism was, let's not have these, rules and regulations and restrictions on what this half the human race should do and should wear and should be. And it seems to me that the real thing really is to remove any of the expectations. But here's the thing.
So may you remove the expectations like, oh, if you act a certain way or you're uncomfortable in your body. To remove the expectation that that's because you're in the wrong body? Is that what you mean? Oh, yeah, then I completely agree.
If you remove every expectation, it doesn't mean anything anymore. So actually, the goal is non-binary, if you follow that logic to the end. So most people that say, I'm fighting for women, it's like, actually, you're going to end up in a position where women doesn't mean anything, and you're actually talking about a different category when you're talking about certain things, such as sex. But it seems that Richard wants to conflate the two, and so there's no room for this kind of...
I don't even know what just happened. What you just said all the things that we're doing are bad, but I guess he wants to do the bad thing.
Fighting is non-binary. To remove any of the expectations.
So we want to remove the expectations. Any expectations of what it means to be a woman. That all you need in order to be a woman is an adult human female. So any other expectations that you need to be a girl boss, that you need to be a slaying, that you need to whatever, we're going to remove those expectations. So as long as it doesn't matter, you're a woman.
Here's the thing. If you remove every expectation, it doesn't mean anything anymore. So
what doesn't mean anything anymore?
Actually, the goal is non-binary, if you follow that logic to the end. So most people that say, I'm fighting for women, it's like, actually, you're going to end up in a position where women doesn't mean anything, and you're actually talking about a different category when you're talking about certain things, such as sex.
Exactly. He just ruined his own argument. He's on our side, and he doesn't realize it. I mean, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. He completely understands all the pieces, but he can't see the whole because of what? Put it in the chat. You know it well. Zibby says, remove expectations. Anyone can become a woman. No, he's saying the opposite. He's saying the opposite. And he's saying that we on this side of the argument are the ones pushing that anyone can become a woman by removing the expectations of what it is to be a woman. No, it's that we're not categorizing women as a set of stereotypes. It is a biological categorization. And if you want to split up sex and gender, then we can say woman is a gender identity that relates to being female. It's not that complicated. It's really not. But you're trying to make it complicated so that you can, punch down on an old man who understandably doesn't understand any of this. I mean, the rhetoric stuff. He understands the biology very well. He's spent his whole life doing it. But this bizarre, to use their word, changing of the language. Nick says, what I want to know is if we can actually change their minds. They will flip-flop for anything other than someone on the opposite political party. I don't know, man. I don't know. And I don't know. But I'm certainly not going to stop trying. That's for sure.
But it seems that Richard wants to conflate the two, and so there's no room for this kind of development. This second clip is...
Yep, well, let's just move right on past that, because that made total sense, and we definitely want people paying attention to that. Unwanted Post said, hope he has his realization he's in the wrong camp this whole time while being recorded. That would be funny. I don't think it would be funny at all. I think it would be, pretty normal to be like, oh, okay, I was wrong about that. There's no shame in getting things wrong. There's shame in being wrong and strong. There's shame in not knowing what you're talking about and talking down on other people who do. I mean, these are the people who are going to say, are you a scientist? Are you a scientist? Actually, yes, Richard Dawkins is a scientist. He is a biologist. Where's your biology degree? If we want to play that game, then who are you to question the experts? Trust the science, right, friends?
Of Richard Dawkins being interviewed on the Triggernometry Podcast, and it follows Konstantin Kissin expressing worry about scientists not being able to express or at least exercise free speech.
And this is something we are specifically going to get into with Peter Boghossian when he is here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, guys. 1 p.m. Eastern. You do not want to miss the opportunity to ask him whatever you want. 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow.
What examples are you thinking of where scientists are not allowed to?
Well, we, for instance, when it comes to talking about the sexes.
Yes.
And saying, there's differences between the sexes.
Can I just say it's obnoxious that if you're going to use this clip, either put yourselves in the middle or just play the video. Why are you here?
Yes.
Investigating the differences between the sexes.
Yes.
Certain scientists would say, look, I don't feel able to investigate that anymore because people will complain. People will say certain things about me that I'm denying the existence of trans people, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think you're right that not just scientists, but a lot of people are zipping their mouths because of a political pressure of the sort that you're saying.
Give me your prediction. Give me your prediction. What is it that they are going to have an issue with that Richard Dawkins just said? I'm so confused at this whole thing. So he says the argument is focused on making people angry and dealing with reality. True.
And it is important, I think, for scientists to be honest and to use language precisely. And in the particular case of sex that you mentioned, it's one of the few cases where there really is a bifurcation, a binary bifurcation. There really are two sexes. And scientists
So we're just going to go over the same thing again?
have to work under that fact. And if people, for political reasons, are trying to deny that there really is a binary separation between the two sexes, then that is anti-scientific, anti-rational, and is a subversion of language, actually.
In fact, it is, and I'm right there with Unwanted Vote. I think he is correct. I think the what's the word? Whatever the issue that they have is they're going to talk about intersex and think that again that a lifelong biologist is unaware of Klinefelter's disease. Like, come on, that's a great question. Are we saying that intersex is a third sex? Because if that's a very different thing. We can play that game, but you have to define your terms. But you don't want to do that because you don't actually have a position. Zibby says, and not the reality is trans. The reality is trans are men until they get the full sex change, and then it's fine to be allowed in some women's spaces, but they're not quite women. I mean, I guess. I mean, I just don't think that you can change your sex. Full stop. Any film says it's not a different sex; it's a medical disorder. Oh yeah, but that's what if they're going to bring that up, then this would be the question to ask them. That's a third sex. When of course it is just the intersection of the two bimodal categories, the one category and the second category. They happen to overlap. That doesn't mean that there's a third category. It just means there's an overlap between the two categories.
You know what's so funny about that? He wrote an article not too long ago. There's a little pop sci piece.
He also wrote a book called The Selfish Gene that was specifically about genes. But yeah, that's super not relevant. So right now we've got I've re-put up the poll because Splits doesn't know the difference between yes and no. If you believe, I'm just kidding. If you believe in the wrong God, will you get into the preferred afterlife? And right now, we have a bunch of non-believers, but we are tied at 22% yes and 22% no. So definitely let me know in the comments. Break that tie, guys.
About how sex is super binary and things like that.
Yep.
I forgot what exactly it was called. It was like sex is pretty damn binary or something like that. And in that piece, he talked about race as well. And he said that the idea that race is a social construct is a fashionable doctrine, is what he called it. Race being a social construct is a biological reality. There is no biological construct of race, no matter how you slice it. Genetics is a thing, ethnicity influencing your genetics because of...
I'm really not a fan of this whole thing. I know I've got my own mannerisms, but there's this and there's this. What are you, fucking Vanna White?
Trends and populations over time, those are things, but the way that we actually define and talk about race has nothing to do with biology by and large.
How is it again? What is the relevance to what Richard Dawkins said? What are we talking about exactly? They're trying very hard to turn it into discrimination and not something more complex. Like, and any film's confused. Wait, what? Race is a thing, but sex is not? No, they're saying that there is no, like, there's no such thing as like the category of black. It's all on a spectrum. And so there's no like what we would call a black person is there's nothing inherent to that category that would be in or out in the same way that we're talking about sex. So you could be mixed race and you might be half and half and you might look a little bit more black, or you might be black and you might be light skinned or whatever. It's all on a spectrum. So they're saying no, they agree with that. They're saying the opposite. Zibby said, isn't race and ethnic and genetics kind of the same? Kinda, but that's the argument that they're making. That they're kind of the same, but they're not the same. In the same way that they're saying that gender and sex are kind of the same, but they're not the same. That's what they are saying. Unwanted Foe said he'd be a great game show girl who does those big hand motions. I'm just gonna leave it there. Splits. Do we still do the after party in the server? It's been a hot minute. I'm planning on hopping in. Well, indeed, sir, we do. After every single live stream, we head over to the Indian Jesus Discord server where the party never ends. That's right, 24/7. We are in there hanging out, having cool conversations, and after every single live stream, we are in there for an after party where you're not just stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. You can kill if you want to. I prefer if you do, but you don't have to. It's all behind that. We don't have to worry about the YouTube censors, anything like that. It's a grand old time. Come and join us.
And so, like, I see the same thing here. If you were to have a biology professor...
Wait, let's back that up. Whoa. If we were to have a biology professor, but we have an actual biologist, you know what they say? Those who teach can't do. Or, you know what I mean? But...
those are things... It's a biological...
Let's go all the way back.
Well, it was about how... Cool. Not too long ago. There's a little pop sci piece. About how sex is super binary and things like that. I forgot what exactly it was called. It was like sex is pretty damn binary or something like that. And in that piece, he talked about race as well. And he said that the idea that race is a social construct is a fashionable doctrine, is what he called it. Race being a social construct is a biological reality. There is no biological construct.
Again, nobody's arguing against that. Nobody said that.
Of race, no matter how you slice it. Genetics is a thing, ethnicity influencing your genetics because of trends and populations over time. Those are things, but the way that we actually define and talk about race has nothing to do with biology by and large. And so...
Agreed. So why are you talking about it?
So, like, I see the same thing here. If you were to have a biology professor talk about race as a biological reality and start coming out here talking about phrenology and like, oh, black people just have a different size brain and that's what makes them this way. And like all this, like that's so far past debunked pseudoscientific nonsense that would have flown in the late 1800s, but certainly doesn't work today.
Right. So that's probably why he isn't saying that. I still don't get your point.
Like, yeah, you would be laughed out of your institution, and you probably wouldn't have a job for very long.
Hey, shout out to Alex Pickus. Welcome to the party. How are you, dude, brother? Good to see ya. Yeah, Indie Film says, what race is Obama then? He's black. He's black because we have decided that even though he has a white parent and a black parent, that if you have dark enough skin, that we call you black. I'm not sure if you're getting confused of what they're saying, or if you like, where is this question aimed at them or at me?
So like here he has this idea of sex and gender, and he's treating it the same way, just as this popular fashionable doctrine that we're all just kind of sticking to this crazy new idea, and you can't say it anymore. You can't say that there's just two sexes anymore. You can't say, like, dude, say what you want to say.
Yeah, and then you'll just get roasted and be called a bigot, and then you lose your job and then get canceled. You can say it. You can say it's free speech. It's not freedom of consequences.
Beta.
Zibby said he's saying since one thing is vague, sex needs to be vague for equity. Nope. But yes, I agree. That is what he's saying.
Say what you, no one's stopping you. No one's holding you back. Say something. And if
He's telling Richard Dawkins, who now they've took 2 clips of him saying the exact same thing, in which they have not said a thing, and they're telling him to say something. Hey guys, holy projection. Well, please question me when I deserve it. I mean, there's the whole point, man. Let's not be dogmatic. Please question me if I deserve to be questioned. But all right.
if the evidence doesn't work with it, if the scientific community is disagreeing with you, then you will have a problem. This isn't some culture war, just
Except it is.
science is progressing. You either keep up with it or you get left behind.
Nobody is arguing with that. But now you are unless you are saying that an institution like the scientific institution, the entities, the industry, these institutions that we trust as the science, unless you're saying they cannot be corrupted, then that's all that the conversation from Triggernometry was about. That sometimes in these industries, it can be co-opted by an ideology. And he just made the point that, oh, if you say this type of thing back in about black people, then you might lose your job. That's precisely what is happening to scientists. That is his point. That is his point. You just say it, bro. Nobody's stopping you. You just said you would lose your job. You just said that. Should we go back on it?
And if say what you, no one's stopping you, no one's holding you back. Say something. And if the evidence doesn't work with it, if the scientific community is disagreeing with you, then you will have a problem. This isn't some culture war. Just science is progressing. You either keep up with it or you get left behind. Don't promote this weird sex phrenology this way. I don't.
I thought you just told him to say whatever he wants to say.
Get how this comparison he's making, like he's being oppressed by not being able to talk about this. You can.
Of course you think that. Projection. Because you think that every time somebody has a complaint about something, it goes back to being oppressed, that you look at the world through that. What was the first thing that Rationality Rules said? When you're criticizing somebody, you have to criticize it from their perspective, not your perspective. You really, really think that Richard Dawkins would say that he's being oppressed? I mean, this is cope. Holy cope. Unwatched fellow said, definitely questioning Mr. Hands here. It's weird. Any fellow said, by the way, I am 8th cousins with Obama and 15th with Trump.
What?
How does that happen? How does that happen? Is that real? That's pretty cool. Nick says, that's crazy. There's less difference between all of us men, no matter what our heritage is, than the difference between men and women. We're all human beings, but sex is our biggest difference. Our biggest difference? Or between men and women? I don't know if I would agree with that, but I get what you're saying. Yeah. Zippy said they're trying so hard. The denial is real. Here's the fix. Men can act and dress like women. That's okay. Move on.
Bingo.
Well said, sir. Any film said the scientific community disagreed with me on natural immunity resistance to that thing. And yeah. How did that go?
Say whatever you want, and you will either be right or wrong, and it will either be accepted
He's right.
or not.
Oh, but it won't be accepted. And therein lies the problem. He will be right, but it won't be accepted. That is the issue. If you understood what you were talking about, you would not have said that, because that is exactly the problem. If you are right, it should be accepted. It should be, well, you might be right or you might be wrong. And if you're right, if you're right or if you're wrong, you may or may not be accepted. If it's wrong, it shouldn't be accepted. If it's right, it should be accepted. You just said it. You just said it.
Say whatever you want, and you will either be right or wrong, and it will either be accepted or not.
So what he and again, maybe this was a slip of the tongue. But he's saying, maybe he's saying it'll either be right or wrong. And if it is right, then it'll be accepted. And if not, it won't. But that's not what he said. That's not what he said.
If you have a spine, put your opinion out there.
So one of the things,
What do you think you're responding to, bro? What is it that you think we're all doing here? We're all responding to the opinion that he put out there. That he says, right or wrong, and just like with Rona, if they can lie about Rona, why can't they lie about climate and gender? They can. And they do. And they will continue.
things that frustrates me about clips like this from people that I like, as in, like, I think they generally do decent work, is that there's an element of truth with what's being expressed.
Oh, just an element of truth that male and female are distinct categories and there's no in between, except for the exceptions that prove the rule that there's nothing in between.
But it's just blown out of proportion, and it's just playing on people's fears, and it just doesn't gel well. I mean,
what fears are we talking about? You're just making things up. You're just saying things. This is how I treat the unreasonable Christians who come up here and try to have these arguments. This is how I treat the leftists who do exactly the same thing. And unfortunately, sir, as much as I respect you, as much as I love your content, as much as I was super excited, if you remember, this is the same guy who went through the whole Dennis Prager's master's program and justifiably called out a lot of BS from Prager. And then you do this.
I mean, like, put it this way, I do think that there is something of a de facto blasphemy situation going on where if you express a view that's not with what's, the mainframe, then you will suffer some pretty harsh consequences.
That is all that he said. That is literally the point of what he said. So again, 2 for 2, you now agree with Richard Dawkins.
Not always, but often the case. And it's worse, as it should be, for professionals compared to lay people. So I do think there is an element of truth for that. And for what it's worth, I think that this really hasn't helped when it comes to promoting, trans people. I think that the right has, or those that are opposed to trans people, they have got hold of this and rinsed it for its money.
What does that mean?
Especially when it comes from a movement that
He's speaking so vaguely for somebody who's so precise. He's this is vaguely that, and especially when it comes from, what are you talking about? Let's really try and understand what he's saying.
That's promoting, lay people.
Okay.
So I do think there is an element of truth for that, and for what
an element of truth for what?
It's worth, I think that this really hasn't helped.
What hasn't helped? Hasn't helped what?
When it comes to promoting, trans people.
What is promoting trans people? Why are we promoting trans people? Do trans people need promotion? Exactly. Why do you have to promote trans? Like, what exactly? That's transphobic.
I think that the right has, or those that are opposed to trans people.
Opposed to trans people? I'm not opposed to trans people at all. So, is anybody, put a 1 in the chat if you are against, or excuse me, to use his words, if you are opposed to trans people, put a 1 in the chat, because then we'll we'll filter it through you, because I think all of us here are not opposed to trans people. We are specifically opposed to trans ideology, and specifically it being pushed onto children. But no, not opposed to trans people. Nice straw man.
They have got hold of this and
who is they, and got hold of what?
Rinsed it for its money.
Rinsed what for what money? How many times can you say a thing in a sentence that means absolutely nothing? And I'm going to play this sentence again one more time when he's done.
Especially when it comes from a movement that beforehand was fighting against religion and blasphemy.
The right certainly was not fighting against religion, and they were fighting against blasphemy, which is fighting for religion. So what are you talking about?
So I do think that dialectically, it's pretty
Dialectic.
disastrous to just say, look, you shouldn't be expressing those views or damning people too much for having a view that you don't.
Okay, one more time. I have faith in us, guys. We are going to understand exactly what he's saying. We're going to let it play. We're not going to, cut him up. Let's play it in full and be fair and see if we can understand it. Treating people as special groups is retarded. And film said, "Nice straw man, and nice straw trans man." Try to say that 5 times quickly. Unwanted Foe said, "Feels like he has right-leaning views, but he only has liberal friends." That's a fantastic observation. I think you are completely right. And I think it has a lot to do with, number one, his audience. When you're an atheist, when you're an outspoken atheist, there's an assumption, both from other atheists and religious people, that there's political alignments with that. When, obviously, as I stand here before you as proof, there is not. But I think that's actually probably very true. As Zibby said, the view of trans people are special is retarded. I just can't put up with this anymore. Hard to be nice when they are not even trying to be sane. Oh, they're trying. They're just failing.
As in, I think they generally do decent work. Is that there's an element of truth with what's being expressed, but it's just blown out of proportion, and it's just
no. Nope. Wrong. No. This is a very intelligent dude who makes great points and understands things in a very logical way. But the problem is that dogma overtakes that. He is not a lunatic mind. They are nonsensical ravings, but that is because of the dogma. And both of you guys can see it when the other side does it. But you both do it. This is exactly what religion is. This is exactly what Christianity, this is exactly what Islam is. It's all the same BS. It's just different truth claims that you believe in. He's not a lunatic.
Playing on people's fears, and it just doesn't gel well. I mean, put it this way, I do think that there is something of a de facto blasphemy situation going on, where if you express a view that's not with what's, the mainframe, then you will suffer some pretty harsh consequences. Not always, but often the case. And it's worse, as it should be, for professionals compared to lay people. So I do think there is an element of truth for that. And for what it's worth, I think that this really hasn't helped when it comes to promoting, trans people. I think that the right has, or those that are opposed to trans people, they have got hold of this and rinsed it for its money. Especially when it comes from a movement that beforehand was fighting against religion and blasphemy. So I do think that dialectically, it's pretty disastrous to just say, look, you shouldn't be expressing those views or damning people too much for having a view that you don't.
Yeah, I still don't know what that means. I don't understand what he just said at all. Any Film said, that was a quote from Young Frankenstein that I thought was fairly apropos. Fair enough. He's certainly, like I said, certainly nonsensical ravings, but I gotta, stick up for my boy here. He's taught me a lot. He's done a lot of studying. He's very, very, very intelligent, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That is precisely the point, that any dumbass is going to be taken up by dogma because they don't know anything. But very intelligent people can also be swindled by believing something that you cannot question. And that is exactly what we are watching. Zippy says, well, we know what's on his mind. He does not want to say the wrong things. Yep. Any Film said, you just think he's smart because of his accent. A little bit more than that, but the accent doesn't hurt, right? Lots of words. Yeah. And I mean, usually they're used in a concise and progressive manner, meaning not progressive politically, but progressive in terms of getting you to understand the point that he's trying to make. And that's just not happening here. There's only one difference. There's only one difference. Here, he has a dogmatic belief.
But as you said, like when it comes to you being a professional, as a layperson, it genuinely frustrates, let alone makes me confused when I see that he doesn't seem to have any concept of what gender is.
Really? Like, you really think that? You really think that he doesn't understand that or excuse me, you don't really think that he understands that you think there's a huge, complete, big difference between gender and sex, and that he just disagrees with that? That's such bad faith. You know that that's not the case. You know that.
And it's like, how can you be speaking about this so many times and not be able to recognize that that's a position, that is the position on the table?
Yeah,
I would say the same to you, sir.
What bothers me about it is like he has made his career with like the public dissemination of knowledge. He has made his career as a public intellectual who's, addressing the public and communicating science to the public. You don't have to necessarily be abreast of like the most advanced information and like the newest developments in your field and all this stuff.
So they know more about biology than the biologist. Okay.
It's not your job.
That literally is his job, bro. What do you mean? He's a biologist. That literally is his job. Unwanted fellow said, what is closer to nothing? Gender is two definitive things, or gender is anything? I'm going to go with the latter. That means nothing. Indie Film says he doesn't have any concept of gender. How does he not know there are two? I mean, 4, 12, or 24, 73 genders. Pretty much.
But this information is like 100 years old, and it's not like it's hidden from him.
You could just open the Bible. It's been there for 2,000 years. It's not like it's hidden from you. You can just read the Bible.
We are in the age of the internet. He can very easily listen to some of the criticisms that's being given to him. Go take a 1,000 level course in the field that you have a PhD in.
All parties in this video are tagged. I guarantee you that they will not be able to respond to this. I mean, they're probably not going to see it, but if they do, they will not be able to.
And learn the new information if you have to. Like, it doesn't have to be as tricky and as difficult and as dangerous as he's making it out to seem.
Can you imagine being that arrogant? Like, let's say he's 30, give or take. Richard Dawkins is like 80. Richard Dawkins has been into biology since he was like 20. And I mean, he's always been into science. Imagine thinking that you know better. And this is the exact thing that every single Sunday he sits at a table and lets people call him and use this exact line of thinking about a different thing and can cut it down, no problem. But when he's doing it, he's like, oh, bro, I don't even get it. Like, how could you not get it? The left 10 years ago. The Bible is racist fiction. The left today. Zuby said, the new information is not science, though. Exactly. It is ideology. It is rhetoric. It is propaganda. It is not science. There's a reason. There's a reason that all these European countries are, not using the puberty blockers anymore. There's a reason that all this stuff is getting rolled back because of science. But you, because you already know better than the biologists, you have the science.
And, what you're talking about, which is a fair point, is this idea of cancel culture, so to speak. Like, the thing is,
there's no such thing. It's just like consequence culture.
Is if you say something stupid or shitty or cruel or hateful or whatever,
like, quoting the science textbooks that you learned from 5 years ago,
you're going to pay some social capital.
And there it is. There it is. You said something bad, and now you have to pay. This is their bottom line. You said something that I don't like, and now you have to pay. It can't be just, okay, well, I mean, I disagree, but that's a valid position. Clearly, you can back it up with the logic. I'm not going to cherry pick quotes out of nowhere and then opine on something that you didn't say. Oh, wait, that is exactly what you're doing.
You're going to pay a price in terms of respect and what your audience is going to tolerate.
Facts, bro. You have lost a lot of respect for me.
And who's going to continue listening to you versus the kind of people that you're going to attract that you may not have wanted in the first place. That's all part of being an influencer and being a public intellectual and being, a celebrity. This is something that you and I as YouTubers have to be cognizant of all the time.
Okay, I thought he was calling himself a public intellectual. And I mean, a smart dude. Again, much respect where it's due. But public intellectual.
This dude's been doing this job for so much longer than us.
But yet, I definitely know better than him.
It blows my mind that he's having such a hard time with, the most fundamental part of our career.
So then maybe you should ask yourself why that's so confusing. Why would that be the case? Is it possible? Is it possible that I am wrong? Or am I accepting without question that I am correct and that anybody who has a different opinion is wrong?
That this is something that he has to shy away from and hide. No, you just have to decide whether the social capital is worth paying for the shitty
what
thing
are you
that
talking
you want to
about?
say, or if you want to be taken seriously with what you're saying next. That's all.
If you say what I don't like, it's shitty. But if you want to be taken seriously, all you have to do is agree with exactly what I say.
Those are all considerations you have to make all the time. And also, you have to know, as a communicator of science, that sometimes how you say something is more important than what you're actually saying.
Yeah.
So, if people don't know what gametes are and don't have a good understanding of chromosomes and you talk about genitals like that, oh, no, but you made fun of that. Why is he talking about a penis when we're talking about men and women? What does a penis have to do with men and women? Zibby said, some of the mental health stuff may be science, but a lot of it comes down to some want to live by attention, and some of it is more focusing on people being okay with themselves and not making it into a new thing. Wanted Foe said he's been very lax in questioning his own beliefs. Oh, wrong one. Zippy said, Dogma, never question yourself. Hands, dude, a high wizard cultist. I don't know what that is. Any Film said, if you want social capital, toe the line. Bars. If you want social capital, you toe the line. If you don't care about social capital and you care about truth, then you will say what is true. Can you imagine them doing this about Galileo and the heliocentric universe? When everybody knew, bro, we've known forever. It says in the Bible that that everything revolves around the earth. And this Galileo guy, all right, you can say hurtful things, like the sun is in the middle of the solar system, but you have to pay for that. You have to pay for that. How? I don't get it. I don't get how you are part of this movement where religious people, for no reason, are treating you very badly. They are treating you as if you cannot be a real person because you don't believe the same things that they believe. And then turn around and do the exact same thing. It is crazy to me. Unwanted Foe said you also have to make sure you care more about how the message is delivered than over making sure the message is delivered.
What?
You also have to make sure you care more about how the message delivered than what?
Yeah,
and sometimes the way you're addressing people and how you're presenting the information is so much more important. And for him,
so now we've gotten away from he's wrong to, well, he could be nicer.
Him to just completely disregard that and be like, no, I'm going to plant my flag on this spot and I'm going to die on this hill. And no matter what,
Yup.
I'm not going to adjust and I'm not going to change my mind.
Yup.
and I'm not going to update my information, and I'm
No, I'll update my information, but with all those updates, still in the same position.
not going to, listen to my audience, and I'm not going to, it's just, this is what
You just accused him. You just accused him of listening to his audience and only saying this because he's pandering to his audience. And now he's not listening to his audience. Which one is it, guys? Which one is it? This is what dogma does to your brain. Crack the eggs and put it in the pan. This is your brain on dogma. It's insane. I wish that I had done a show with the Atheist Experience, with him taking calls, and so that you could see that he's with it when it comes to talking about the Bible, when it comes to talking about religion, when it comes to talking about anything, slightly ancillary in that realm. He's with it. He's good. But this ain't it. So he said, either you focus on delivering a message or how the message is delivered. Well said, sir. Well said. Unwanted Foe said he only cares about how the message is delivered rather than making certain that it is delivered. There you go. Thank you. The double team there definitely helped me. Shout out to Indy Bell. Let's see if we can coax him out. Money, come here. Come on. We're gonna. I mean, he's making me look so bad. Look at this. Look at this. After all I do, every dime goes to him, and yet all I want is for him to care, and he doesn't. He just doesn't care at all. Look at this little bastard. Look at this little bastard. Where are we? Morty, come get your treat. Come on. Let's go. You don't want it? Here, look. No. Hey. Oh, shit. Yeah, go get it. Okay, I gotta look. Hey. Yeah, you'll eat that, won't you? There you go. All right. I told you we were going to get him. We going to get him, and we got him. We got him. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you very much, sir.
what I think, and this is all it is. It's a very dogmatic approach, and it just,
Bruh. Really?
on this hill, and no matter what, I'm not going to adjust, and I'm not going to change my mind, and I'm not going to update my information, and I'm not going to, listen to my audience, and I'm not going to, it's just, this is what I think, and this is all it is. It's a very dogmatic approach, and it doesn't fit who he's been for the past, 60 years, and it's weird.
I think we got a double drink on that one. One, for saying that it's dogmatic, and two, for saying that it's weird that it doesn't fit for the past 60 years when it is directly in line with everything that he's been saying. So that's the second one. It's crazy to me. So you're telling me for the last 60 years, he hasn't been saying that there's only male and female? Because he definitely has been saying that. So I don't know what what you're talking about. So it says, this guy sounds like a bozo. He is not. That's just what I was telling Indie Film. He is extremely intelligent. He's definitely smarter than me. Both of them are smarter than me. Of that, I am sure. But it doesn't matter when you bring dogma into the mix. This is what happens. This is your brain on dogma. He's a wire goblin. What? So we said, old doggy likes the heist from the PC. Cultist claims the guys. Come on. Scientific fact is dogma now. Yeah, right. I mean, full circle.
It is weird. I think you touched on a great point on cancel culture there. Some people think that cancel culture is having some kind of ramification or consequence for your action. It's like, no, that's not. That shouldn't be. These are completely different things. You can say what you want. So, for example, a Christian could come up to me and say that you're an atheist and you have no morals, and I think that you deserve hell. It's perfectly in my right to respond to that by going, go fuck yourself. I don't want to be around you. Like, you're just a waste of my space. Like, if you're not going to respect me, why should I spend any time respecting you? So that's on that point. Now, I understand that it could be different when it comes to academia, but if you're teaching a certain role and the role has certain criteria, then you've got to teach that role. When stepping outside of that's wrong. You'll be wrong if your English teacher started teaching you maths. It's stepping outside of the role in the curriculum. If you want to change it, change the curriculum. Like,
would you guys still follow me if I was like, okay, today we're gonna react to Vivek Ramaswamy, and then I played a 30-second clip of Vivek and then talked about how much I hated Biden, and then I played another clip, and then I talked about how great Trump was? You'd probably click off because you're like, yo, I thought we were talking about Vivek Ramaswamy, and that's not what you're doing. Because nothing that you're talking about, except for the blatant BS that you're just shitting out of your face, has any relevance to what Richard Dawkins says or thinks. And clearly you don't know what he thinks. Clearly you don't know what he thinks. I mean, insane.
like, have good arguments outside of the school because it's already been chosen. Now, one of the things I've learned, and I hope that I do this now, and you've done it in this very podcast, and I think it's just such an important thing. Soon as we went into areas where you haven't done a sufficient amount of research.
You mean like understanding what Richard Dawkins thinks before you do a whole ass collaboration on why you disagree with what Richard Dawkins thinks?
Or you haven't thought about it enough. You have like specified this ad nauseum. You've made clear, look, I'll give you my thoughts, but this isn't something I thought about a lot. You did it with athletics, for example. It's so obvious to me that Richard either like knows what his opposition believes and tends to believe and just isn't representing it accurately. And that's a really big
or he actually thinks a thing. That's not a possibility that he just thinks this. There has to be some nefarious right-wing narrative behind this, right? It can't just be that a biologist thinks of sex as a binary. That would be crazy, right?
problem. Or he doesn't know what they believe. And what's worse is that he's speaking very authoritative on it, and he's
projection. Actually, I want to use we're going to use this one. Projection. We're the projection police. Okay, that fills up a little more space.
dismissing them and treating them essentially like they're, mentally ill, to put it frank, like this.
Projection. I'm going to get drunk at this rate.
It's a complete diversion from the way that things should be. And I'm with you. I'm incredulous. I'm just like, what is going on with Richard with this content lately?
That's precisely the issue. And it's like, it's not.
That is precisely the issue, that you don't know, that you think that there's something happening when, shout out to Indie Films, a biologist 10 years ago. There are 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Take two. Biologist 10 years ago. There are 2 sexes. Biologist today. How do I get that grant money?
Bingo.
But try to tell them that. I'd be like, what? People caring about money? No.
Not who he's been for the past like 15, 20 years. When he's going out and debating people about religion or debating people about evolution. I never saw a clip where he was straw manning somebody. He would always
because he doesn't and is not doing that. Unlike you, who are badly straw manning him. Daniel says, you would think in defense of their views, they would talk about like those frogs from South America. They can switch their sex. Yeah, I mean, at least then that would be an argument. But you're not making an argument. You're just being like, he said the thing that we don't like. 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 Like, Daniel was on to say, but wait, that would destroy their argument because those frogs can have babies or inseminate females after they do that. Almost like there's two different categories, right? Crazy.
Make sure, like, he didn't believe the Bible, but he learned what the Bible said so that he could accurately represent it and then talk about why it's a problem.
Okay, so still yet we are 20 minutes into this, and you have yet to say what is the actual position. Because you so far what you have said is that believing that trans women are women is a fringe idea within the LGBT community. Or within whatever, in terms of this debate, whatever you want to, however you want to put that, tie a bone on that. You said that was the fringe and compared it to young earth creationists in Christianity. Are you really going to stand on that point that it is reasonably comparable? The percentage of Christians who are young earth creationists, that's comparable to the percentage of people who are on the left in some sort or in the LGBT community or allies or whatever who think that trans women are women? Of course not. You know that that is the standard mainline belief. I think, right? I mean, I don't know. Sippy says, speaking of the Bible, they are hyper dogmatic. Well, yeah, that's the whole point, guys. That's the whole point. That's the whole point, is that one dogma is not better than the other. And, well, I mean, that's not necessarily true. There are definitely worse dogmas than others. But all dogma is bad. All dogma makes smart people stupid.
Stupid.
Yeah, I'll let you guys read that.
He didn't believe in young Earth creationism, but he learned what the young Earth creationists were actually saying so that he could then go out and talk about why it didn't comport with reality. If he seriously wants to say that trans people don't fit reality or don't fit biology.
I mean, to be fair, we're 21 minutes into their video, but still. Shout out to Ayush! Welcome to the party! Said, y'all. News Nation is having a live town hall meeting. Check it later on. It is good. Will do. Thank you, and welcome to the party, brother.
Biology or don't fit or whatever like that. At least have the freaking courtesy and the decency to go out and learn what they actually are saying and not just get on this pity party here of saying, oh, well, in our academic institutions, we can no longer be hateful and bigoted. Like,
wow. Holy straw man. That's really what you think is saying? Of course not. Come on, bro. We just want to be hateful and bigoted. Why can't we be hateful and bigoted? Like, get the fuck over yourself. Jesus Christ. I'm blown away that you would that you would say these things publicly. That you actually think you're making a point here. That's embarrassing. We got to check out the comments. And sadly, I don't think we're going to be happy with them, but
I'm sorry. Like, academia should be more free, not less. It should be
agreed. So if we want to test something that would negate this idea that trans women are women, then we absolutely should be doing that. But you definitely wouldn't like that, would you? Hey, shout out to Unwanted Foe. Said, you tricked us. This is a comedy show, isn't it? Well, I do my best. Thank you, sir. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Let's see if he's going to come on over. Come here, Mark. He was sitting by my feet warmer. Marty, you want a treat? No? I'm going to throw it at him. Yeah. He's not even eating it. He is lazy. Is there thunder or something? Why is he acting so weird? I don't know. But thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
More interested in exploring new ideologies, not less. It should be more open to new evidence and new ways of thinking, not less. For you to come in here and say, like, we as academics and scientists and everything, we need to be protected from all this new thinking and all these new ideas and these people who
straw man again.
We're gonna, tell us that we're bad people and take away our funding and take away our jobs if we offend too many people. Like, you're just talking about doing the same job you've been doing this whole time. You're just not doing it right now, and I don't get it.
It's very clear that you don't get it. That is one thing we can all agree on, is that you do not get it. I'm trying to think, like, what was the conversation that they had about, like, yo, let's do this video, and do zero research at all, while also committing the fallacy of projecting that Richard Dawkins, the evolutionary biologist of all evolutionary biologists, doesn't understand what gender is. And you're going to be dead ass serious about it. That is embarrassing. Anyone says, I don't care what he says, I'm going to keep on being hateful and bigoted. You do that, sir. Nick said, help, my brain is melting and draining out of my ears. This hurts. You need some melted mind media. You're welcome for the shout out. He's probably still not even here. Zippy said, I read manga to make the hurting stop, but it does not stop the leaks. Jesus Christ. I don't want to know what kind of leaks you are talking about.
Don't get it, dude.
Now, I have to say that I'm actually somewhat not surprised that he's acting this way on this topic.
Acting this way.
And the reason is this. When I got into atheism, I read The God Delusion and,
which is the book written by Richard Dawkins.
I read his works, and he does actually respond to some philosophical arguments. It was only after learning a bit more about philosophy that I learned that there was a theist that criticized him, saying, reading Richard Dawkins talk about philosophy is like reading a creationist talk about evolution. And it is. Like, I mean, I still got respect for Richard, but philosophy is not his lane.
Okay, but biology is, and how many sexes there are is biology, not philosophy. Daniel says, I don't think it's embarrassing. I think it's just proof they played the knockout game too much in high school. Again, guys, I know that we're having fun, and it's easy to criticize what's going on, but I don't want you. And I want to play along because it's fun. And they're acting really, really, really stupidly. Remember, they're still talking about the trigonometry clip. They're still talking about this clip. They have not addressed anything that he has said. And what he said was exactly the same thing that he said in the first clip. But again, I need to highlight to you guys, these are not dumb people. These are guys that are smarter than all of us. I promise you that. And that is the point. That dogma will mush your fucking brains. Zippy says, most of the stuff I read is simple power fantasy. It's dumb fun. Hence the gooey brains. You don't have spell check on your shit? Like, what? I mean, again, just take 5 seconds. There's only 8 of us here. I promise I will get to you.
He really hasn't put in the time and attention. And so really...
You mean like how you haven't put in the time and attention to what he actually believes about this? Projection.
Reflection, it's not all that surprising that he's doing the same now with what I would argue is a topic that, I mean, gender is definitely in the social field. There's philosophical dialogue to be had there.
There is a conversation to be had, but gender is only a thing as long as we have biology. There's no, like, sure, it's a social construct, but there is nothing to construct without genders. Without biological sexes. If we were all the eunuchs, then this idea of gender identity would not be a thing. It would just be called, like it was for the last 100 million years, your personality. That's all trans is for most people. It's your personality. That's all it is. It's sad because, like, these children who take on these neopronouns and identify as otherkin and all that stuff. It's sad because they don't feel like they can have a unique personality. So they need to have a unique gender. Because they have to adhere to all of the they have to toe the line to get the social credit. It's the only way they can be unique is with their gender. How is this going to, I talk all the time about hoping that Gen Z is going to be the generation to look up at the millennials like myself and be like, wow, y'all messed up. Y'all are 35, 40 years old, still acting like children, saying things like, oh, adulting is hard. We don't want to be that. But, it might just take one more generation. Zibby says, YouTube chat box has a text on a line. Misspelled words have a red line under them. Yeah, so all you got to do is left click and it'll give you the right one. Nick says, talking to yourselves. Cool.
There's some sex, arguably, and there's some biology, but I think
there's some biology. When it comes to the workings of your body, there's some biology, but mostly it's philosophy.
What? Out of his lane. Right, so this final clip that we're going to take a look at is from Peter Boghossian's podcast, and we're treated to a few religious analogies.
You see what I'm doing here? You see what I'm doing? So Monday, we talked about Richard Dawkins and Peter Boghossian. Wednesday, we talked a little more about Peter Boghossian. And now we're talking a little more about Peter Boghossian, who will be here live tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. The Peter Boghossian, Dr. Peter Boghossian, will be right here for the inaugural PB&IJ podcast. We're not really calling it that, but, be here.
From Dawkins. It's a bit of a lengthy clip, but since this is a main talking point that he's expressed on multiple interviews, I do think that this is worth responding to.
We seem to have exchanged one form of superstitious religiosity for...
It's not a thirst trap. He is going to be here. A thirst trap is when you're like, oh, I'm going to bring this, and then you don't really get it. You're going to get it. You're going to get the whole thing in your mouth. He's going to be here. 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. I'm a little nervous, but dead ass serious. He is going to be here.
Point that he's expressed.
So, they're saying, okay, this clip is a little long, but we know I specifically did this because we watched this entire conversation. So if they take it out of context, the other ones, I'm not familiar with the exact context, but we just watched this full episode. So if they take it out of context, we will know for sure.
On multiple interviews, I do think that this is worth responding to.
We seem to have exchanged one form of superstitious religiosity for another.
Yeah.
And the analogy goes pretty deep. I think John McWhirter pointed out that there's a strong relationship between original sin in the Christian religion.
Oh, that was me pointed that out.
And white privilege.
2014, yeah.
Okay.
That was my article with James Lindsay. Privilege is the original sin, but yeah, go ahead.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So
I noticed they don't have anything to say about that. Very quiet when it comes to the idea that privilege is the original sin.
Original sin being, we're all born in sin. We all inherit the sin of Adam.
Right.
We white people inherit the sin of slavery and colonialism. And because we're white, we have to feel guilty.
Hey, we got Parrish in the building. So can you make your voice a little bit deeper? I'm very sensitive eardrums and your high-pitched voice is damaging. Might not be the channel for you then, bro. My voice is my voice. I cannot change that.
For what our,
welcome
not
to the
necessarily
party.
our ancestors, but people of the same color as us in past centuries did. So that's one analogy. And then
I do kind of get a little bit more high pitched when I get excited, though. So I'll try.
Well, transubstantiation, which is in the Catholic religion, the wine literally turns to blood, where literally doesn't quite mean literally. It means what Aristotle called the accidentals stay wine, but the true substance of the wine becomes blood.
All right, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll try to keep it low key. All right, we're just going to talk like this the whole time, and nobody's going to get their ears hurt.
So when somebody stands up and says, I am a woman, although they've got a male body, that's transubstantiation. In the accidentals, they still have a penis and they still have Y chromosome, but in the true substance, they have become female. So
listen, I obviously we just did this last week, but great point about this transubstantiation, where the wine actually becomes the real blood of Jesus Christ and the I forget what you call them, but the wafers become the actual flesh of Jesus Christ. But it doesn't, right? Obviously, it doesn't. In the same way that a man who puts on a dress may think they have become female, but they haven't.
Well, that's where the word transubstantiation comes from. Transsubstance.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And,
thank you.
There's a very strong analogy to transubstantiation in transsexualism.
It's in the name. Transubstantiation.
Oh, tell me more. How so?
No, sir. The wafers themselves are not called communion. You failure. You failure.
Well,
Communion is the sacrament in which you take the wafers. I just forget what they're called.
the wine becomes blood
And
when the priest simply declares it that it is, and a male person becomes female when he declares himself to be female.
Whoa! What is all this? What? I'm pretty sure that's all how y'all understand it. Because here's the thing. I'm not dogmatic about this. So if they're gonna say no, nobody really actually believes that, then okay, they're gonna be wrong. But if they think that most people don't think that you can actually change your gender, then this all makes a lot more sense. That they just have no idea what's going on. If that's what they think, then at least they get a little bit more credit in terms of their logic. They lose a lot of points on research. But let's see this again. I want to see what exactly triggered them to start laughing.
tell me more. How so?
Well, the wine becomes blood.
Eucharist. There we go. Exactly. Eucharist. It's not called communion. I'm sensitive now. You're going to go fucking cry about it? Jesus Christ.
And
When the priest simply declares it that it is, and a male person
Power of
becomes
Christ
female
compels
when
you.
he declares himself to be female.
I missed it. Hold on. I was thinking about you guys. All right.
Simply declares it that it is.
So yeah, that's what at least some sects of Christians believe, that when you bless the wine and the Eucharist, that it becomes the blood and body of Christ. When obviously scientifically it does not. And in the same way, it's with trans people that when you declare it, then it becomes true. And then they started laughing. So what I missed what part is wrong about this.
And a male person becomes female when he declares himself to be female.
So the only thing could be that if they're going to jump on, well, no, the male doesn't turn into a female. He's still a male, but he's a woman. If they're going to jump on that, fine. Fine. But that's as far as you can go with this. Daniel says, no, but the objects themselves are actually called communion wafers. They're not, that's the Eucharist is not the name of the wafers? What do you call the wafers eaten during Holy Communion? Sacrament bread, also called communion bread, communion wafer, Eucharist bread. Yeah. So yeah, what are we arguing about? What the fuck are we arguing about? He might be saying sarcastically. Who's saying sarcastically? That Dawkins is saying sarcastically, or that somebody in the chat? You guys got to be more specific. You forget that y'all just watch him. I got 7 million things going on. You got to help me out. Shout out to Melted Mind Media. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. He didn't go for it, but I tried. Thank you, sir. Very, very much appreciated. Zippy the Strange says it's a shame that you can't profit off treating a guy in a dress as a guy in a dress. They have to become women to make a profit. Well, Eucharist is what the wafers are called in Mass, but what they are ordered, you order communion wafers. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Zippy says, much like them, arguing for the sake of arguing. That's what we do, right? Dana said, so we're all... Welcome to the party. If you don't know, now you know. Unwanted Foe said, hard to tell what their argument will be since they can't see the parallels somehow. Yeah, I don't know how. Let's see.
Comes blood,
And
when the priest simply declares it that it is.
We get silly.
A male person becomes female when he declares himself to be female.
And I just want to note that they did look at each other before they laughed. Just saying.
And in the Aristotelian terms,
That's a
the
good one, Nick.
substance has changed.
right.
The substance of wine has changed to blood. The substance of maleness has changed to femaleness. But the accidentals, the incidentals, are what are regarded by Catholics as trivial and by trans people as trivial. So they really believe that they have become the other sex.
It's remarkable how obvious it is that those are delusions. I mean, it's
Again, what are you doing on screen? Put yourself in the middle. You just paid for a whole team to have all this amazing AI art, and you can't set up a good, setup.
crystal clear to anybody not caught in the orbit of the ideology that is a delusion.
Yes, they get around it by this word gender, which is separate from sex. And there are some who I think even think their sex has changed,
Correct.
and others who think that they admit that their sex hasn't changed, but they're
So hey, shout out to I am that I am. Welcome to the party. Said, okay, this is rubber room material. I need 2 to 3 Oxycontins to listen to this. Hey, let me get some of that. Yeah, it is. It's hard. It's hard. I really don't. I really don't know. Excuse me. I don't know how they are. Like, what could their thing be? Because remember, originally, excuse me. Originally, I had said that, like, if they're going to jump on this idea that he thinks that all trans people think that they have changed their sex as opposed to changing their gender, then that is at least something that I could give them credit for, because that is not what people think. But as he just said now, some think their sex has actually changed, and some admit that their sex hasn't changed. So again, they're just sitting there like, maybe he's not gonna say anything that we disagree with.
their sex has changed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sex, and there are some who I think even think their sex has changed.
Correct.
So there even some, meaning that would be the fringe position.
And others who think that they admit that their sex hasn't changed, but their gender has.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well, at least he finally addressed the word gender.
yeah, because so you think in that moment, that's what a 80-year-old biologist, that's how he discovered what gender was? The level of arrogance that is afforded to people from dogma is disgusting. It turns intelligent people. It turns kind people into assholes.
We are going to get to that because that's a really good observation. I think that's bad, but I will say this just to square off what we've just seen.
Okay.
Peter Boghossian goes on to say that believing that Jesus walked on water is less of a delusion than believing that a man can get pregnant. But since we're not focusing on his views, Forrest, what do you make to what Richard just had to say?
So, not to plug my own channel or anything, but I have this series called Reactivity where I respond to...
Nobody cares. Actually, that's not fair. That's not fair. We're using the content. Let's let him plug his shit. Let's not be petty.
Not to plug my own channel or anything, but I have this series called Reactivity where I respond to people who try to debunk evolution. And in almost every video, what ends up happening is that they're like, evolutionists think that rocks turned into humans, and that's crazy.
That is crazy, right? So maybe in the same way that they don't understand the argument, you're now the one who thinks that evolution is rocks turning into humans. You're in that position right now. You think that you're making a point, but the person who knows way more than you actually has the point and understands and can articulate your position, whereas you cannot even articulate your own position, much less their position. Where are we? Unwanted Foe said Beard is gonna agree. Beard is gonna agree with us while not agreeing somehow. Redhead is gonna cringe. So we got Steven and Forrest in that order. Nick said, all I can think of is that they don't want to be in agreement with the right wing in any way because they are used to being at odds with the Christian right. Nail on the head, sir. Nail on the head, sir. This is what is going on. And maybe not actively, but there is an a priori dogmatic belief that if it's something that sounds like it agrees with the Christian right, then it must be wrong. So this is what I talk about all the time, guys, that you can either have people like this who and myself who don't believe in God, who just automatically tune out whenever anything is close to what religion says or anything like that. Or you can fall back a little bit, not be so smug and arrogant about what you think you know about the universe, talk to other people who may or may not agree with you, and we can all find that middle ground where, regardless of what you believe in your own home, that we can all be Americans and be part of that American identity. Now I know not to watch videos from that channel. Oh, what? The guy who joined my Discord just to spam his own bullshit and never talk to us, and then comes into the chat and say, bye, like I actually care. Yeah, feels you. Daniel says, you finally said the word we wanted. Yay! Well, I might give it to you that they could be intelligent on other subjects. But this one, they come up seriously lacking, man. Yes. It's not just on other subjects. Just they are extremely intelligent, full stop. But extremely intelligent people will get caught up in dumb ideas because of dogma. Whether that is religion or that is trans ideology or anything else that you take dogmatically, it doesn't matter how intelligent you are. Because this is emotions. This is not about what's in your mind. It's about what's in your heart. And in my heart, I just care so much about the transes that I can't stand to listen to this guy. I followed him for years, and now he's just being so transphobic. I mean, he said the word. But yeah, exactly. Zippy says rocks can become humans, though. I mean, bacteria, etc. came on. I'm going with Melty. Because I think I kind of understand what you're trying to say, but that is absolutely not at all how evolution works. Daniel says, you just gained more respect for me, allowing him to plug his own channel. Thank you, bro. Well, thank you, bro. I appreciate you every second that you're here. Anyfoon says agreed. For instance, voting for Hillary Clinton. It was one time, all right? It was one time. Come on.
And it's like, yeah, that is crazy. That's why nobody's saying that. No.
How many times? That's bizarre. I just don't get it. Like I said, you are in that exact same position. You are now sitting in the creationist seat, talking about evolution as if you know, but you don't.
Nobody actually believes. And like, that's that whole clip right there. It's just.
Is it though? Or is it your whole video?
Like, that is like a Fox News, like they're saying you have to be ashamed of being white and guilty about that, and that
Do they not say that?
Your body literally changes magically, and that
Do they not say that?
and that men just become women by just declaring that they are.
Do they not say that? What's happening here?
And then the other guy's like, that's clearly delusional. It's like, yeah, that's why nobody's saying any of that.
Bro, you need to get out of your echo chamber. Holy this. So what did I say before? If they are really thinking that the idea trans women are women is a fringe idea, then all of this makes so much more sense. They have no idea how crazy the people who are writing for the same things that they are writing for actually are. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, bros. But yeah, a whole portion, 20% of the entire country, I'm just throwing numbers out of my ass, but a large portion of the country absolutely does say that. And we have entire pages. Look at Libs of TikTok. And look at Clown World. There's a bunch of pages and pages and pages of people saying exactly that. So unfortunately, you are just ignorant. You are just ignorant. And despite the fact that you could argue about young earth creationists all goddamn day, no, sir, you don't know everything. That thing that you're saying about maybe sometimes somebody who's smart in one area might not be so smart in another area. That's you. That's you. Yeah, science is Fox News. Like that tells you so much right there. That tells you so much right there. But I mean, this is the whole point of this channel, guys. People like this, now that I understand that they think that the trans women are women, they think that's fringe. They think it's crazy, just like we think it's crazy. They just don't know how many people actually do really say that. And if they would allow themselves to step back from their dogma, they would be able to understand that maybe you guys don't have this delusional thought process, but a lot of people on your side of this absolutely do. And if you don't think so, you have more reading, you have more research to do. Daniel said, quit selling yourself short. They might be able to school you on some intellectual BS. You could school them in music. I mean, it's not, thank you. I appreciate that. But the point of talking about how intelligent they are is to talk about how strong the dogma is. If I just brought on some dumb person to say some dumb thing, then yeah, dumb people are dumb. The point here is to highlight even intelligent people can be caught up in this. Daniel says, we all have our strengths and we need to recognize that they exist. I completely agree. I am not selling myself short at all. I'm just aware of the fact that both of them have done a lot more reading on a lot of the things that I know very well. They've done more than I have. So the things that I know well, they know better than me. And I'm not insecure about that because I'm willing to see where I'm wrong. I'm willing to continue learning, as clearly they are not.
Nobody's making those arguments. You heard that on whatever freaking Matt Walsh podcast and then came.
Yeah, the one where he took TikToks from Libs of TikTok who just repost TikToks
here and regurgitated it. I don't know where you're getting that information from.
Well, you just said Matt Walsh. That's probably a decent guess.
Certainly isn't trans people, and it's certainly.
You sure about that? You sure you're sure? You sure you're sure it's not trans people? I mean, unless you're trying to say that people who just self-ID and don't do anything to actually transition and use neopronouns to say, if you're saying those aren't trans people, then hey, we're right. I'm right there with you. But something tells me that's not your point.
Isn't other biologists who actually know what gender is.
Again, the assumption that Richard Dawkins does not know what gender is when they just played a clip of him talking about the difference between sex and gender. That's just disingenuous. You can be stupid, guys. You can be stupid about this. But at least remain in good faith. At least be intellectually honest. If you think you've got this, then there's no reason for cheap shots, right? But maybe you're not as confident as you think. So you need to throw in these little jabs to bolster your opinion, because it's not that good.
The white guilt thing, so weirdly out of left field. Nobody's asking you to be guilty for being white or to
projection. Like, that's the mother of all projections. Like, you just brought it out of left field. Nobody was talking about white guilt, and then you brought that up. You're like, yeah, people would just be bringing this out of left field. What can I even say? What can I even say?
actually know what gender is. Like, the white guilt thing, so weirdly out of left field.
I agree. Why did you bring that up?
Nobody's asking you to be guilty for being white or to feel bad about being white.
Except Ibram X. Kendi and Robin DiAngelo and half of the Democratic Party and all of the voters.
We're asking you to recognize and try to stop, like, exclusively benefiting from the systems that are put in place to benefit you from being white.
Oh, okay. So white people, you guys have the power to stop these systems that are in place? I didn't realize that you had this amazing power. You think that white people can just change society and what, the rest of us can't? That sounds a little bit like white supremacy to me.
We're asking you just to recognize the fact that the world is built for you and that you benefit greatly from it and that other people are hurt because of it. And so try to fix that situation. Don't feel bad.
No, I am not going to do that. As a not white person, I can say you're full of shit.
About the situation you were born into. Try to fix the situation that you were born into. That's
no. You have no. What did they say? They are proving the point. They are proving the point that in their religion, these atheists, in their it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because I want this to be my tribe, but they do this. They do this. Privilege is the original sin. And their entire existence is about shutting down dogmatic thinking. And then you do this. Any Film says, apparently we're on a huge tangent to justify something, but perhaps you could name a system. I can name one. Affirmative action. Got him. Nick said, hell, that's news to me. I didn't know I was so powerful. What? Daniel says, I wonder if that's why we just canceled affirmative action, because white people have the power. Checkmate. Checkmate. White people have all the power because affirmative action is gone. Is this privilege a thing yet? Oh, it's been a thing, bro. What you mean? Melted Mind Media said, but it could take up to 6. What? What are you on about, bro? To have to talk the other. I don't know what you're on, but those last two are not English.
a totally different argument. And then this idea
I agree. So why are you talking about it?
of transubstantiation and trying to relate things back to religion. You said earlier about him.
Yeah, transubstantiation and transgender. I wonder if there's any connection at all. Like, to think that there would be is
Him being so far outside of his wheelhouse. That's him just trying like hell to bring this back into his wheelhouse. He knows how to argue religion real well. So if he can make this thing sound like religion, even though that isn't what anybody's doing,
except they are,
then he can very clearly argue it and knock down that straw man real easy.
All right, just for, in case anybody's watching who is not familiar with libs of TikTok, then let's just pull up the first compilation that comes up from 10 months ago, and we'll see. It says, I've taken all these videos off a recent, it's somebody else's thing. So let's see. What do we got here?
My pronouns are they, fair, fairs, it, and they, them is just fine. So if you wanted to refer to me, you would say they is a drag storyteller. It loves to read, and some of their favorite books are Where the Wild Things Are and From the Stars in the Sky to the Fish in the Sea. And I have been reading with Drag Storyteller, with Drag Story Hour, for a year and a half. And my drag character is a drag thing that can be anything in the world.
I don't care so much. I don't care.
Person is talking about their own experience with fat phobia, their own experience with their body, with their fat body, their fat person. It's not an inverse, so you don't fucking understand one of them. It's a fat people. And let
a little bit. So for the he, she alternative, instead of pay, it's paint. So now it's paint, paints self. I just think it's
people aren't doing this. This isn't happening, guys.
I'm going to be teaching you how to use prince, princess pronouns and sentences. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to use shark, sharks pronouns and sentences. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to use flower, flowers pronouns and sentences. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to use wolf, wolves pronouns and sentences. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to use paint, paints pronouns and sentences. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to use cat, cats pronouns. And today I'm going to be teaching you how to use that, that's pronouns and sentences. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to use the, ver, viz pronouns. And today I'm going to be teaching you how to use thons pronouns and sentences. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to use they, them pronouns and sentences. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to use shrimps pronouns.
I mean, so clearly this is just not happening. Obviously, what we have here is a clear case of just, watching Matt Walsh lie about that happening when clearly it never, ever, ever happens, right? Yeah, cope and projections. Oh yeah, we got a drink for projection. So Daniel asks, can anyone tell me what cis stands for? I know what allegedly means. You identify with the gender you were born, but what does cis mean? So cis, it's supposed to mean let's pull up the actual thing. It's supposed to mean like unchanged. And so the cisgender mean your gender aligns with your biological sex. What does cis mean? Sure. Okay. Well, what does cisgender mean? Denoting or relating. Yeah. No. I want. Okay. What does the prefix cis mean? On the same side as. That's what it means. Oh, sorry. I forgot I wasn't. On the same side as. That's what it means. Yeah. Pain. I mean, really. Oh, sorry. Melty got it here for us. Yep. From the Latin meaning on this side as opposed to trans, which means on the other side of or beyond. Thank you, sir. People are just making shit up now. Oh, yeah. No, yeah. It's just, just a prefix or default. That's another way to think of it. But you are still absolutely, it's petty is the wrong word, but it's absolutely within your right to say that I don't want to be referred to as cis. If for no other reason than what we just saw with paint self. If you can demand that, then I can demand that I am identify as a man and not a cis man. Daniel said, cis is dehumanizing. Why put me in a box when you're the one who switched your definitions of who you are? Based. Melting my media. I'm not cis. I'm normal. Based. I mean, they will take every inch that we give them. Don't move. Don't move an inch. Stand your ground. We're talking rhetorically, not violently.
This is just, it is just boring, lazy thinking.
I agree. You've had a boring video here that I've had to really juice up. Lots of lazy thinking. Yep.
That comes from somebody who very clearly has never spent 1 second listening to anybody who doesn't already agree with them on this topic.
Wow. Imagine having the audacity the audacity to know this little about what you're talking about and who you're talking about, apparently, and to say that. Yeah, exactly. You give them an inch, they take a mile. So stand your ground. Let's just, I mean, whatever. This guy's.
It sucks.
It does suck. You suck.
Well, let me add to what you're saying there. So when it comes to white guilt, like one of the problems
Why are we talking about white guilt? You brought that up out of left field. Why are we talking about white guilt? I don't care about white guilt.
Has, and a lot of British people have this, is that we're British in the sense that we don't come from America. So when we get your politics exported to us, it often just doesn't work.
Then shut the fuck up. Because you don't know what you're talking about. Deal with Brexit.
If you look at slavery in the UK, it was not based on race, whereas it was in the US. And so the systemic racism that you can see in the US isn't completely replicated.
Oh, okay, I missed that. All right. I apologize, Forrest. I apologize, Stephen. You were right, and I was wrong.
In the UK. So all of what's going on that front, some of it hits, but most of it doesn't hit in the UK very well. Some of it does, but not most of it. And so you've already got that problem. Then, by my lights, we've got a really serious problem with
people who are doing exactly what you're doing without any idea of what they're doing. I agree.
The Daily Wire or some news outlet finding some fucking nut and then presenting their view as if it's actually mainstream and then panicking people like Richard into thinking, yeah, that's mainstream. It's like, yes, you will find.
Okay, so then why don't you do the opposite of libs of TikTok? Oh, you can't because all of the trans people are like, yo, it really do be like that. Maybe you need to get out of your echo chamber and you need to talk to people. I mean, I know that it's a little bit repetitive at this point, but what else can I say? Unwanted. So see, this is how you do this. For anybody who is a content creator out there, so you'd say F the unwanted foe says the UK for imprisoning my people centuries ago. Where's my reparations? Good one. Daniel said if white people have guilt for this stuff, they did well. Let's just say the rest of the world has some stuff to answer for as well. I don't want to call anybody out, Spain. And I mean, a raise did in the past. I don't know what that means.
Find some idiots out there that are frankly racist and they say, Steve, you're responsible for it when they know nothing about my past. And they're making all of the mistakes that happen with racism in general. And that is that they're judging me by the color of my skin and not by the content of my character. Yes, you will find that person, but that is just such a rudimentary understanding of what's actually being expressed there.
I agree, which is why you need to talk to your own people about what they are doing, what they are creating. This is what people understand of your movement.
Yeah. So yeah.
Also, by the way, with The Little Mermaid, can we also just mention that just from a scientific perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have someone with darker skin who lives deep in the ocean. What scientific fucking perspective? It's a story about a mermaid. Those don't even exist.
Hey, you might offend some of the mermaid kin by saying that. That's transphobic, bro.
There's an octopus lady that steals people's voices and a singing Jamaican crab.
If you are ever this angry for any reason at all, aside from the fact that maybe somebody in your family died, except for maybe that, that's pretty much it. Then you're the one who is living wrong. You have messed up somewhere along the way. If that is your reaction to somebody making a silly observation about the fact that someone with dark skin it wouldn't happen. It was a joke. Is that the ma'am guy? May as well be. Where are we? He's angry enough to be. Facts. My Media said the Christian Matt Walsh cares about science when it benefits his position. True. I mean, hey, you know me. I'll call out the Christians just as much, if not worse. Zibby says, look who's not judging people right. Man, they are projecting so hard. Yep. All right, let's finish this up.
You have that on the white guilt analogy part. Now, on the Aristotle front, on the philosophy front,
I do have more, by the way, if you would like to keep the party rolling.
I don't know where to start with this. So
that's clear. You should start at learning more before you turn the camera on. Because I know that when you actually do your research, that you put out fantastic content. This ain't it.
This is really quite messy, right? I'm kind of surprised that Peter, a philosopher, didn't really delve into this or object to what Richard was saying, but
because he completely agrees. Again, something you would know if you did a little research.
I do understand that when you're hosting a podcast, it's difficult. You've also got, being polite and everything, but
that was also a collaboration. So it wasn't the Peter Boghossian's podcast only. They recorded that conversation and they both put it out. So theoretically, they were both co-hosts, but you wouldn't know this because you didn't do any research.
And maybe I'm wrong on this, but look.
You are wrong on this. I don't know what you're going to say, but I already know, based on everything that's come before, that you are wrong. Libby says, look who's not judging people, right? Oh, we already said that one. Daniel said, before you end the stream, can you play that music video I put in Discord? No, that's how you get copyright claimed. Nick says, as a white dude, I wouldn't claim these moronic people as part of my race. They don't have enough brains to be human beings.
Aristotle has two categories. He has essential properties, and they are characteristics that define what something fundamentally is. And without it, if you didn't have those properties, then it would lose its identity. That's to say that it's necessary. So, for example, I, Steve, am a human being. That's an essential property. If you removed human being, you don't have Steve. So it's an essential property. That's,
sure.
An example. You could argue it, but that's a pretty accepted example. Okay. Whereas accidentals are properties that are additional to the entity. But if you change them, if you remove them, then that entity would still be that entity. So that's to say that they're contingent.
So what you're trying to say is that even if you cut off your penis, you're still a man. What are we doing here? What are we doing here?
I have a beard, so it's right to say that Steve has a beard. But if I didn't...
If I were to shave the beard, if I were to shave off a part of me, I would still be me, right? That's the logic here. But somehow, when you shave off a different part of you, then no, you're not still the same person. Let's watch him make this argument.
I have the beard, I'm still Steve. So my beard is an accidental, whereas being a human is an essential.
So then where does the penis fall?
So there's a clear understanding there with, what he's saying. And Catholics agree, like we was talking about Catholicism, they agree with that interpretation on...
he just knows religion real well, so he's trying to bring it back into religion.
Aristotle. Now, here's the big problem. When it comes to the transubstantiation, what's happening is you've got the wine.
Oh, yeah! The actual point that was actually made that they pretend like they're responding to. That the transubstantiation of when you do communion, and Christians believe that the wine turns into the actual blood of Christ and the Eucharist or communion wafers turn into the actual body of Christ, when that's not actually scientifically true. The analogy is that because you declare you are a woman if you are biologically a male, or you declare that you are a man if you are biologically a woman, then, he finally, in the same way, it doesn't actually change what you're saying is changing.
And the claim is that the wine, whatever attributes it's got some essentials, some accidentals, and it's going to have some of it will be its essence. If you take its accidentals, you might say, okay, it's always...
Hold on, real quick. Isn't it incidentals, not accidentals? Accidentals, characteristic. individual, those that you unique. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure he's talking about incidental. No? All right. Maybe we're both stupid. I'm stupid.
Stupid.
I guess it's accidentals.
Be served in a cup. It's like, no, it isn't. Like if you,
Let me back it up. Sorry.
and it's going to have some of it will be its essence. If you take its
Based
accidentals, you might say, okay, it's always served in a cup. It's like, no, it isn't. Like if it wasn't served in a cup, it's still wine. You're like, okay, so the cup is accidental. Okay, it's made of grapes. No, it isn't. That's not necessary. It's not a necessary condition to be wine. And it's like, okay, fair enough.
transubstantiation. That's when they do, like I just said, when they pray on the wine, they believe that it actually turns into the blood of Jesus Christ. When they pray over the communion wafers, they actually believe that it turns into the flesh of Jesus Christ, the person who walked the earth, when clearly that is not the case.
That's not what it is. The claim that's made by Catholics is that the essence, the wine itself, literally changes. Magic, God. It changes. The essence changes from wine to the blood of Jesus. And it's the accidentals that look like it's still wine, but it's actually not. The taste,
the accidentals
the flavor,
being the molecules and the flavor and all the other things.
Exactly. So actually the essence has changed. It's went from wine. It's no longer wine. It is not at all wine. The essence has changed. And yet the exact opposite is the claim that's made by trans people. They grow up, they find out who they are, and they go, I figured out what my essence is. Let's say that I'm a male and transitioning to a woman. I would say, I am.
In the same way that you cut off your beard, you would still be you. If you cut off your dick, you're still a male.
I figured out who I am, and I'm a woman. I live up to the social construct of a woman. I live up to whatever definition you want of a woman. I'm
adult human female. So no, wrong.
Telling you what my essence is and what it aligns with and who I am.
Okay, and then we get back to the meme of I'm an attack helicopter. I'm telling you what my essence is and what aligns with it and who I am.
What I'm doing is not changing my essence. What I'm doing, if anything,
is recognizing the essence that was improperly assigned at birth. Watch.
Actually changing my accidentals to fit my essence. So what I'm doing is I'm growing my hair long. I'm taking hormones. I'm doing things like that to fit the accidentals.
Right. That is what you're doing. So you're not changing your essence in the same exact way that the wine in its essence does not change. Both the Christians have a dogmatic belief that the wine actually changes in its essence. And people who are, for the trans ideology believe that the essence of the person changes. I don't understand how you're making the arguments against your own points and still landing on that point. I don't understand how this is happening. Where are we? Meltamine Media said, and paper that is, did I miss something? Drinking blood and eating bodies, and paper that is in my wallet turns to money. Not quite. Zibby says, yes, the essence of man changes to woman the moment the man says he's a woman. Your essences? Can I see your essences? I want to take a peek. Good one. Excuse me. I want to post said, how do you differentiate essence from I think? You can, bro. You can. Daniel says, so if I have long hair and grow a beard, and it feels like a lady, that makes me a bearded woman. Yes? According to them. That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. Incidentals. Richard Dawkins said accidentals in the clip, and then he corrected himself to incidentals, and they've just been saying accidentals. But I think, based on what I looked up, that it could be either one. But Dawson definitely said incidentals.
So Richard has just got this completely backwards.
Or maybe you do.
That is such a fucking incredible point, honestly, because that's something.
Talk about an echo chamber.
That trans activists are.
And for real, why, if you're going to do this, you couldn't find anybody who was willing to be on the other side of this? Clearly you didn't try, but it's very, very obvious that you could have gotten anybody to make this an actual real discussion And instead, you chose to put out rhetorical propaganda. I'm right there with you on how damaging religion is. But it's not because of the religion. It's because of the dogma.
Are very vocal about. I didn't decide that I'm a woman. I discovered that I am. I didn't just wake up one day and decide to be a man and stop wearing clothes. I realized that I am a man. I came to terms with the fact that I am a man.
No, you may have come to the terms. Exactly. You came to terms with the fact that you are a man. Your decision and your essence and your feelings have nothing to do with the fact that you are a man. What are we talking about? Unwanted fellow said they have far too many progressive friends that they're trying to impress. Mountain My Media said it makes me cringe when religious people cuss. Well, they're atheists. So who's cursing? That's religious. Nick says, I'll buy what they're claiming when they can show me that their genes change from XX to XY or XY to XX. I thought you were right about the word, but I'm a dumbass. Well, I guess we all are. Zibby said, you decided. You prayed and thus became a woman.
And it's why, people talk about, they don't want to use the word born male or born female.
Because that makes people feel bad, even though it is factually accurate.
Prefer the term assigned male or female. They thought I was this, turns out I was that.
No, they knew you were this, turns out you think you're that.
And that's such an important distinction to make.
I agree.
And so I that's a phenomenal point. I really appreciate you bringing it
Oh
up.
my God. Oh my God. Comment of the night. Comment of the night. I think, therefore, I am has never been taken so literally. Brilliant. 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 Oh, I love that. I love that so much. That is the comment of the night. Oh, man. I wish there was a perfect time to just end on that. We just have like a couple minutes, so we may as well finish. But this is the comment of the night.
Because that's exactly how it should be seen. This person was always a man. Their phenotype disagreed. The doctor disagreed. Their parents might not have understood. They were always a man. They learned about it later.
Dogma. That is dogma.
And then they're going to tell the world about it. And that's just so much more realistic and so much more.
Is it though? That's more realistic? What the fuck are you talking about?
Poetic. Again, if everybody was saying the things that Dawkins was saying here, I would also disagree with them.
So see, we have landed this plane. They are unaware that they actually agree with the people they say they disagree with. Listen to it again. He just said it. I'll full screen him.
Just so much more realistic and so much more poetic. Again, if everybody was saying the things that Dawkins was saying here, I would also disagree with them. But nobody's saying those things.
Except they are. So this is just a matter of, look at that smug smile. Look at that smug smile. This is just an example of if that were true, I would agree. It is true. So you agree. You just are not aware that you agree.
All right. So
that actually makes me feel a lot better. That makes me feel a lot better because I know that these guys are smart. I know that they're intelligent, and not just like intelligent in the sense that they know these facts. I'm talking about the way that they interpret information. And so that makes me feel better because now these people that I look up to in the way that they think about things, I'm seeing that they're just operating on incomplete information. And they think that they have it. And they happen to be wrong. And we're all wrong sometimes. But this is why you have to be able to see it. You have to be able to question what you think, what you believe, what you know. Otherwise, this will be you.
The last thing that I want to comment on is what you mentioned at the beginning, and that's gender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here, he said that the way they try and get around this delusion, this ideology, is by mentioning gender.
Yeah.
Now, that means that he does know.
Exactly, bro. That's You just did a 40-minute video on, he doesn't know what gender is. He doesn't know what gender is. He doesn't know what gender is. And in the last 3 minutes, the last 2 minutes, you're going to be like, well, actually, obviously, he does know what it means. Like, come on.
That they separate sex and gender. He knows what they're doing, and yet.
So you are going to now issue an apology for putting out a video that says, oh no, Richard Dawkins doesn't understand the difference between sex and gender, right? Because that would be intellectually honest.
It doesn't contend with their position, and that is just fucking weak. Like, come on, man.
That really is what struck me the most about it. Is like at least he's finally bringing it up, but he's bringing it up as if it's this cop out, and it's like this weird thing, like, oh, this is just their strange little workaround to logic. Like, no, what you're describing there is new information, which is what you've been trying to promote this whole time. Is here's your worldview, here's new information, now your worldview adjusts, and
okay, so what have we done to test that new information that aligns with any type of scientific consensus or statistically significant study or anything? Nothing. That is why all the European countries are pulling back from this, because they don't have the level of woke adherence that we have here. And it's scary. Unwanted Foe said, when you dismiss all your opponent's sources before reviewing them, of course you say nobody says this. Textbook echo chamber. Melton My Media said, I bet he has 2 copies of Genderqueer on that bookshelf behind him. One autographed, of course. Oh, man. Nick says, I miss when boys had Audis and girls had innies. The good old days. Any Film said, you just said if other people thought this way, then I would agree. That's not what a logical, quote unquote, smart person would say or do. Facts don't rely on consensus. No. So what he's saying is so Richard Dawkins is saying what we're saying, that all these people are actually thinking that they're changing their sex, not just their gender. These guys are not aware of that. So they're saying, if it is true that people are actually saying that they're changing their sex and not just their gender, then I agree. And since that is the case, they do in fact agree. They just don't know that they agree because they are working on incomplete information. This is new information. It's in the Bible. Let's not go there. That is true. Yeah, to be fair, science does rely on consensus. It needs repeatable. Is that a word? Repeatable results. But I get what you mean. It's not just about what the other people say. That's trusting the science. But that's exactly what the last 3 years was all about. Is trust the science. Don't do your own research, aka read. Nick says, that sounds like Fauci science to me, all right? You just take the masks. What are you talking about? The next mask won't work until they don't. They're going to work, and then as soon as I say that the masks aren't working, the droplets are going to come through. No, Senator Paul, you don't know what you're talking about.
Now you're a better person. That's been your career for a very long time.
And longer than you've been alive, right? So the chances that randomly he just changes, probably more likely that you're the one who doesn't have information, right?
And like now, it's like, here's my worldview. They have this new information, but that's all just ideology, and I'm not going to buy it. And it's like, it would be different if this was like a fringe group of people coming out here and saying, like, I think sex and gender might be different. It's great. And then we could grapple with it as like, whether they're right or wrong, they're just kind of this fringe group, and we're seeing if we need to take them seriously or not.
If we need to take them seriously, the real people, the actual serious people, we'll see if, we will take the time to look down our nose at them.
This is like mainstream contemporary literature. This is something.
Then why don't you know what the fuck you're talking about if it's so mainstream?
That everybody in the field agrees on. And he's just like,
yeah, well, everybody agrees that Jesus came back from the dead, bro. So, like, everybody agrees. Everybody agrees.
Meh. I don't use it that way. So, like, you shouldn't either.
We have carbon dating to prove that this or that in the Bible didn't happen, but you're the one projecting. You're the one projecting. Wanted Foe said, I knew Forrest reminded me of someone. His haircut is the same as the YouTuber Queer Kid stuff. Oh my God. We are definitely going to be covering some Queer Kid stuff, but it's weird. I'm just warning you, but that's funny. Any Film said, okay, missed the disagree part. Consensus is not the scientific process. No, correct. It is not the scientific process, but it is a part of bolstering. So like if you do one study and you get scientific results, that has a certain strength. But if somebody else does a similar study and comes up with the same consensus and same results, and you guys have a consensus, now that's a stronger claim. And then when you have thousands of people doing that and peer reviewing, then that consensus makes the claim stronger. It's not foolproof, but that's never what science claimed to be. It is a method. Daniel said, just like Lazarus, the Bible told me he rose from the dead, so it must be true. This is exactly the same thinking that they are using. Without compiling facts and forming a consensus, he says there is no science. Yep. Yes, exactly. That we're not disagreeing. We're in agreement.
It's like, when did that become your modus operandi, dude? Like, why is that?
I think it was 1974 when the Selfish Gene came out.
That what you're doing now? Like, why?
It's such a
consistency, truth, honor, science.
Flip of the roles. It's like the amount of times I've seen him like sit down and try and discuss evolution with a creationist, and they mention nothing to do with evolution. They won't even consider it. They're just
like you're doing right now.
Popped into existence, and he's like, that is not my view.
Yeah,
contend with evolution, and yet here he's doing the same. It's the same in terms of rhetoric. He's not dealing with their position.
No, I can't. I mean, I can't say the same thing over and over and over and over. This is just pure projection. And this is the problem with every issue is that everybody thinks that everybody else is just repeating talking points. Nobody's willing to actually sit down with somebody and talk about it with somebody that actually has that opinion. What is it that you actually think? Instead of trying to get dunk moments, talk to the man. I know that you've done work for whatever his organization is. I know that you can get in touch with him. You could certainly get in touch with the Triggernometry people. You could certainly get in touch with any of these people, but you wouldn't go on any of those podcasts because they would tear you the fuck apart. Because all you know is what exists in your echo chamber. Yes, correct. Peer review is not the same thing as the scientific process, but the scientific process is bolstered by the consensus that comes from continuing to do the scientific process.
And the first time we hear him mentioning gender, he says that's how they get around it. That's no better than a creationist going, yeah, well, the way that they get around that is evolution. That's what they do. But it's actually just...
That's literally what you're doing, bro. Well, that's like, that's how they get around it. Oh, well, they get around it. I'm not going to address your claim. I'm just going to say that that's a bad argument because it doesn't help my argument.
It's a linguistic trick.
This millions of years thing.
Yeah. And oh man, come on, Richard. Anyway, I wanted to see what
I want to point out,
gentlemen, I've been a little harsh, but that's only because I respect you so much. And I'm talking to Forrest and Stephen right now. I genuinely have the utmost respect for both of you, for your work, for your intelligence, and just for allowing people to find a space to have conversations about religion in the way that you do. That work is amazing. That being said, you are not in the right here. You may have a different opinion, but as of this video, you are working with incomplete information. I'm not saying I have all the information, but if everybody in this video, including me and the chat and Peter Boghossian and the Triggernometry guys and the lady on the Dawkins podcast, if we all understand our own positions and your positions, and you are just, whoa, what's so bizarre? Then maybe it's you who doesn't understand. I would be happy I would be happy to have a civil, calm conversation about how all of this works. And maybe you'll teach me a lot about what is actually in the weeds of, if you choose to go into this gender ideology, what is actually there. But what we are talking about is not that. You are having a different conversation, and so you are straw-manning the position of the people that you are arguing against. I think I've laid out pretty clearly how you've done that throughout this video, but I'm more than willing to just have a discussion. And again, if I'm wrong about all of it, I'm happy to be wrong about all of it. Because I don't want you guys out here with this drivel. You can do so much better than this. You can do so much better than this. You can bring more people away from dogma as long as you're not using your own dogma. Shout out to Indie Film. Oh man, Big Baller $20 super chat says consensus is not the scientific method. You can buy my what is the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but you can buy my opinions. $20. I'm done. Consensus is not part of the scientific method. I mean, that's fine. But what we were saying is that consensus is a big part of understanding and trusting that which comes from the scientific method. I think we all generally agree. We're just kind of mixing up words. But thank you so much. Huge shout out to Indie Film. $26 being the new sponsor of the stream. Big shout out to Unwanted Foe as well. Big shout out to Melted Mind Media. Oh, I didn't even drop his link. Let me drop the link to this man's channel. Definitely a great YouTuber you definitely want to check out. And of course, our big man. One more time, give it up for Indie Film. Thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate it. And I don't know if anybody wants to come up. We could do a little panel here. You know, I said super chats keep the party rolling. So let me do that. Does anyone want to come up and say what you got to say? I just dropped the link. Come on up. Me and Melty did do a collab. You should definitely go check it out. The link or the link to his channel is right above the link to come up here. Yeah, man, thank you so much for this. And all I can say, guys, is that dogma is dangerous. Dogma is dangerous. Whether it is that you believe that there's a man in the sky who knows about everything, who has a plan, or if it's not a man, or if it's whether you believe in God, or whether you believe that a man can transform into a female, that is based on dogma. That is based on an assertion that cannot be questioned. That is something based on an assertion that you must accept a priori. So don't do that, because then you will never be able to have the right answer. Keep your mind open and just be humble. Like what we saw today was not humility. If you're smart, and if you understand these things, and if you're so much better off than the person that you're reacting to, then why be so smug? If y'all, I mean, I was smug to you guys, but only because I was matching your energy. So again, I'm more than happy to have a conversation. Please, I mean, obviously it would help out my channel, but I'm literally willing to do it in Discord where nobody can see. I'm more than willing to do that. So thank you so much. Once again, big shout out to Indie Film, the sponsor of the stream. I guess nobody wants to come up. All right, so just cause Indie Film bless me. He don't bless me. Let's go back and finish with this one. I don't want to hear this guy. But yeah, the yelling's not it for me. All right. Oh yeah, remember this chick? There we go. Welcome to the party, brother.
How's it going, sir?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm all right.
What'd you think of all this?
I'd be more than interested to see what other media you say that they have that's they're so up to point and up to par on, because after what I saw tonight, I have questions.
Okay, that's a great idea, actually. Let's do rationality rules and that's a great point. That's a great point, my friend. So let's see. Let's go to videos. What have I seen? Okay, theism is irrational. Here's why.
Why, hello, my fellow apes.
What in the hell is this?
As a naturalist, I'm convinced that
this what follows is an iteration of an opening speech I gave at a debate held on the 22nd of May 2023, kindly hosted by blah 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 blah.
Why, hello, my fellow apes. I hope you are well.
That AI
As a naturalist, I'm convinced that your time as a conscious being
Dan, if you want me to pause, just say pause.
Is limited, and so I consider every minute you grant me to be of infinite value. Thank you. As not to waste said time, let's not beat around the burning bush. When one speaks of theism within our culture, they are almost always referring to capital G God. That is, the God of Abraham. Theism, then, for our purposes, is the proposition that an all-powerful and all-loving God exists, which entails that he has unlimited power and will always act as to create the greater good. Now let's define rationality. Rationality is the quality of being based on or in accordance with reason or logic. And I think it's best conveyed through an example. Hundreds of years ago, it was rational to believe that diseases such as cholera, chlamydia, and the Black Death were caused by miasma, bad air. After all, wherever there was foul odors, such as by sewers and crowded urban slums, there were diseases. Belief in miasma was based on the best evidence of the day. It was a rational belief. Today, however, we know that these diseases are not caused by bad air. We in fact have so much evidence to the contrary that we now consider it irrational to believe the miasma theory of disease.
And
Hold on, pause it there. They have enough evidence to believe that, but the scientific evidence for transgenderism is just above them?
You got it. And that's, again, the point being is that I completely agree with every word of this video. And I mean, we don't have to go through the entire thing, but the point being is that they are not dumb people.
A belief is rational, then, if and only if that belief is in accordance with the reason and evidence available to the believer. So, yes, most of our beliefs are rational, but that doesn't mean that they're true. Whether something is true and,
like, you know, your gender,
whether something is rational are two different propositions. And the beliefs we hold that are not rational, we typically maintain them because we haven't considered, much less even recognized, the absence of their evidential and logical support. Instead, we've leaned on intuition, authoritative figures, and cognitive bias.
So basically, I feel like there's a God. I feel like I'm being watched over. I feel like this. Therefore, it must be so. And again, his thing here is that theism is irrational.
That said, there is a pretty famous other way of maintaining irrational beliefs that some even venerate, namely faith. Per Hebrews 11, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. To have faith is to believe in a proposition despite there not being sufficient evidence for doing so. So there's our keywords front and center. Now we can delve into the juicy parts, and we'll start with the worm in Adam's apple, the problem of evil. By virtue of God being all-powerful, we know that he can prevent evil. And by virtue of him being all-loving, we know that he wants to prevent evil. And yet, when we stroll through the remains of mass extinctions and witness natural disasters, predation, parasitic diseases, and other forms of suffering in the world, it appears obvious, and I mean really, really obvious, that we're beset by gratuitous evil.
Yeah.
I was going to say, no, that doesn't quite scan, because if God wants to prevent evil, then he would have done something against Lucifer when he fell.
Right. And he didn't. So good job, God. You rationed him. Like that's why it
Pretty
doesn't make
fucking
sense.
much.
That's why it doesn't make sense.
I agree fully. I'm a non-practicing Catholic, brother.
Yeah. So and well, so let's just watch a couple more minutes just to get a feel of
That is,
the visual.
evil that does not serve any greater purpose
Hey, cheers.
or lead to any greater good. This poses a significant problem for all followers of this classical God. By maintaining that an all-powerful and all-loving God exists, theists are committed to a worldview that cannot admit of any gratuitous evil whatsoever. None. To them, every single instance of gratuitous evil must necessarily be an illusion. So when, for
No, it's not.
us a mass extinction in which millions of sentient beings
Smart ass.
endless and often
millions.
prolonged deaths, rather than recognizing that, yes, gratuitous evil exists, theists have to spin a story, a theodicy, so that they can
So like actually
confidently declare, this must be for the best somehow.
Well, it goes back to mythos, Zeus and his lightning bolt to explain thunder.
Exactly. It's just the notion that we don't have an understanding of this, and instead of being able to say we don't know, we cling to an answer. And because we cling to an answer, then everything around that has to then serve towards that predetermined answer. And so, I mean, the fact that you can agree or you can disagree, but clearly this is a well thought out. This is well researched, well worded. I mean, it's well done. Even if you just listen
and
to it.
they must do this with every single instance of gratuitous evil. This can't be stressed enough.
And so, talking about gratuitous evil where you believe in a benevolent God, it does not make sense. It does not make sense. And he's very clearly pointing out how that is the case, that it does not make sense. And he can use the logic there because he's very intelligent. And he doesn't have the dogmatic crutches that Christians have when it comes to religious belief. But then it comes to the trans thing, and he has dogma. I want to post, I get that Guinness a proper glass, and that he's got a good voice for being a narrator. Yeah, I mean, that might be the accent too. That might be the accent too. But, and so that's kind of what I meant, that, like, he's not a dumb guy.
No, I think I do have to agree with you. He's just kind of lost in the weeds on that one subject.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Even if we do it off air, I'm not, I mean, I would love to do it on air. I obviously am trying to grow a channel, but even off air, I am more than willing to talk about why this was a bad video for you guys to do. Any other thoughts of the conversation of the night, sir?
Not much. I think I just really want to leave on that one comment that you kind of called the comment of the night. This is kind of the epitome of I think, therefore I am, therefore I think I am.
That was chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Where is it? There we go. I think, therefore I am has never been taken so literally. And I was going to get a cogito ergo sum tattoo. So if you're not familiar, I think, therefore I am is Rene Descartes, and his whole thing was, how do I know that there's not like an evil being convincing me that this is that and that is that? How can I really know? And so he stripped down everything that he could possibly know, and he's like, fuck, I don't know anything at all. But there's somebody doubting what I know. There cannot be doubt here unless there is somebody who is doubting. And so I think, therefore I am. But now, I mean, I think I'm trans, therefore I am. Or no, I think I'm a woman, therefore I am.
Well, it goes back to that whole, the thing I really have issue with and take issue with is that gender fluid non-binary area where it's like, oh, I woke up today and I feel like I'm a lady, and I woke up tomorrow, or if I wake up tomorrow and I feel like I'm a guy, well, then I'm a guy. And I'm like, that doesn't scan in any logical way.
Nope. And I mean, I feel like it is it has to be a detriment to trans people to be continuing to do this. Clearly, it's not helping them. Clearly, there is, I mean, we don't have to say it in a negative way. We are in an age where mental health is something that we don't blame people for. We don't, but if you have gender dysphoria, in the same way that if you're anorexic, we don't be like, yeah, you fat bitch, here's some diet pills. We shouldn't be like, oh, yeah, let's mutilate your body.
Well, it's like I one of my friends, personal friends, I've known him for about a decade and a half now. He's recently come out as gender fluid, non-binary, and I'm like, I'm more than willing to respect that on your side of it, but no, I don't. You all are pushing shit that I just don't agree with, and until you can recognize that, like you said earlier, you can recognize the issues that your people are pushing and state them out loud and call them out on their own bullshit. I have issues hopping in on your side of it even that far.
What do you mean?
Well, just to hop in and respect, the whole I'm a girl today. I technically would have no issue with that, but you've got all these gender fluid people or the non-binary people who are like, you're gonna call me this.
Oh yeah. The demand, the entitlement that that I am owed this.
That mindset of I want to respect the Constitution, the mindset of I want to respect the Constitution and your First Amendment, but I'm going to compel your speech. No, that earns a big one of these from me in a heartbeat.
The math ain't mathin'. The math
exactly.
ain't mathin'.
Exactly.
Well said, sir. So a big applause to you for the comment of the night. That was chef's kiss and a special place in my heart. Those are definitely hoop earrings, bro. Who you lying to? Who you lying to? Who you lying to?
I disagree because it's not a full hoop. I have to screw these bastards on, and it's a pain in the dick.
I actually
say what you will.
I actually used to wear one of those in my lip. I used to have my lip pierced, and everybody would have the ring with the one ball. But I was like, nah, I'm getting a horseshoe, and I was so cool for that. So any final words for the people before we head over to the after party?
I want to see all you guys in the Discord for the after party tonight. That's the end of that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming up. Thank you so much for your awesome commentary in the chat and the coming up and having this conversation, brother.
Thank you for having me. I
will see you in the after party. Peace. So again, I want to thank you guys so much. Let me get some these last comments here. And Nick says, if it makes your life better, then by all means believe. But don't try to convince me you have proof that you can't show me. I'm open to anything if you want to prove it to me. Well said. And we'll end on our big boy, our big spender, the sponsor of the stream, Indie Film, said indulging someone in their delusion does not help them. It hurts them. Bingo. Hurts them. Absolutely well said. And I think that we need to understand that this is a reasonable position. This is a reasonable position, that they have a position that is not reasonable, and they have the burden of proof to change that which is they are trying to change. If they are so right, then they can prove it to us. Like Nick said, prove it. Prove it. Then you win. But that's not how science works. You don't get to just be, oh, you're a bigot, and now I have the right scientific consensus. That's not how it works. So thank you so much for hanging out with me, guys. I really do appreciate it. You know how much I love when you guys are here, but you guys also bless me very, very much today, and that's huge. That's huge. I'm going through some. It doesn't matter. It helps a lot. So thank you so much. And even if you can't contribute, the fact that you are here hanging out means the world to me. This conversation is one that's been a long time coming. And speaking of conversations, don't forget, 1 p.m. tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, Peter Boghossian, the real Peter Boghossian, will be here live with me. We're going to ask him about this video for sure. And it is going to be a party like it always is. So thank you. Once again, guys, I have been your host, Lutch, a.k.a. the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, I am out of here. Peace.